North Carolina's Outer Banks. Air Canada is still grounded by a strike, but is hoping to get some flights back in the air later today.
Canada's largest airline had planned to resume flight operations Sunday afternoon after the Canadian Industrial Relations Board ordered the flight attendants to return to work. But the Union of Public Employees, which represents 10,000 flight attendants, urged their members to defy that order. The union says they're only paid when their aircraft is moving and not compensated for time spent boarding and deplaning and flight delays. As many as 100,000 travelers were stranded by the strike. Air Canada has been trying to rebook them on other carriers, difficult during the peak summer travel season. Jack Callahan, Fox News.
At a time when artificial intelligence is being increasingly used, the military is working on a ship with nobody on board.
The Department of Defense and its Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, also known as DARPA, have reached a milestone: the christening of the U.S. X-1 Defiant. It's an autonomous ship, meaning no humans are on board. In a DARPA video, program manager Greg Avocola says it's a complex project.
What can you do with a ship design where you don't have the constraints of the people? The other side of the coin, though, is how do you make it reliable? It's hard enough if there are people there to fix it. And really, the only way you can prove that is by giving it a hard test, giving it a test that requires resilience and endurance.
The new ship is 180 feet long. Jill Nato, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are down before this week's trading, but not by a lot after gains last week. I'm Dave Anthony, and this is Fox News.
Charlie, is there something better we can do with all these pallets, OCC, and shrink wrap? It just keeps building up.
Well, we have a trash company that's supposed to haul it away. I guess they're not keeping up.
Well, maybe we should shop around. All this paper, plastic, metal, this can all be recycled. We spend way too many hours just moving it around.
Actually, my buddy's company uses Combined Resources in Addison. They pick up recyclables all over Chicago and safely dispose of it. They have this huge recycling center. Apparently, it saves them a lot in waste expenses, too.
Well, let's give Combined Resources a call.
Since 1986, Combined Resources, Inc. has been your one-stop shop recycling and sustainability partner. CRI's programs reduce labor and hauling costs, boost rebate returns, and help your company go green. If your company has paper, cardboard, plastic, pallets, and metal that you want cleared and recycled, CRI will take care of it all and help you meet sustainability goals. Call 877-CRI-PLAS and learn how CRI supports smarter recycling at combinedresources.us. Combined Resources, Inc. Turning waste into worth, one resource at a time.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way to have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Goldberg's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by MyVirago.com.
It's August 18th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is Never Give Up Day, which can be easier said than done. Stay motivated, be positive, and don't quit. Also on this day in 2020, Joe Biden, formally nominated as the Democratic Party's presidential candidate.
Well, thank you very, very much. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all. It means the world to me and my family.
This taking place during the first ever virtual convention due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Larry Bird, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, retires on this day in 1992 at the age of 35 after winning gold 10 days earlier as part of the Dream Team in the Barcelona Olympics. Born on this day in 1952, actor Patrick Swayze of Roadhouse, Ghost, and Dirty Dancing.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. But I always do the last dance of the season. This year somebody told me not to. So I'm going to do my kind of dancing.
I'm CJ Papa, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Serving in the military requires great sacrifices, not just for one's country, but also for one's family. Not surprisingly, divorce for soldiers is especially difficult, and it raises a number of challenges that are peculiar to military divorce, things such as deployments, relocation, retirement benefits. These issues can be complicated. So if you're a soldier facing such challenges, go to CordellCordell.com.
2815 Old Jacksonville, Springfield. CordellCordell.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.
You guys know better than anybody that you just can't compete on an equal level playing field with somebody of the opposite gender. It's just not fair. That's a fact.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. A new poll from Gallup found the percentage of Americans who drink alcohol has fallen to its lowest level in history. On the other hand, drug use is at an all-time high, and young adults use marijuana more regularly than alcohol, while our youth use it at the same rate, which, before legalization, was never the case. This is the result of years-long campaigns warning of the dangers of alcohol and nearly zero campaigns on the dangers of marijuana, which we consistently destigmatize. What the alcohol survey shows is what previous successful drug messaging shows. When perception of risk and harm goes up, use goes down. We've done the opposite with marijuana and get headlines like we did last week from the New York Times. Quote, cannabis poisonings are rising, mostly among kids, as products like weed gummies proliferate. More children and teens are suffering symptoms, including seizures and life-threatening breathing problems. We must do better. Our inconstancy and inconsistency in the battle for our children's health depends on it.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid with a high of 87. Tonight, expect considerable cloudiness, warmth, and high humidity. There will be a few showers and thunderstorms with the heaviest rain early. Some thunderstorms could bring strong winds, flash flooding, and hail with a low of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so, the Trump-Putin summit in Anchorage over the weekend. What Trump wanted going in and why he wanted it. This is Trump talking to the assembled press corps in Air Force One en route.
There's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as will Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that I don't care about that. I care about it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile, but over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
It is crazy. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Additionally, difficult to fathom was having to watch all of the people that were part of the Jobama terms on the Sunday talk shows, providing post-mortem on the optics and the terms of engagement and the potential strictures of a ceasefire or a larger deal, and Zelensky wasn't there, and Europe is concerned. All of these people weighing in who presided over both the forced annexation of Crimea by Putin and, of course, the invasion of Ukraine that Trump is trying to forge a peace deal 3 years hence. But they've got all the answers now, the Jake Sullivans and the Susan Rices and the Hillary Clintons. It was really something to endure. The stupid media narratives. This was pretty good. Rubio was making the rounds in response, sort of trying to chase after and clean up all of these Obama flacks from the bygone era, who, again, presided over everything that Trump is trying to undo, all this death and destruction, war. Rubio on This Week, in response from Martha Raddatz. Martha Raddatz, you'll recall, famously, anytime you hear the name Martha Raddatz, associated her with Aurora, Colorado. In, it's only a couple of buildings that Tren de Aragua took over, illegal immigrant street gang. Nevertheless, explaining to Martha Raddatz this nonsense about the optics and the Trump has put Putin on the world stage by inviting him here and rolling out the red carpet and allowing him to ride in the Beast, the presidential limo with him and so forth.
Critics of President Trump will say the pomp and circumstance, the red carpet, the warm handshake, that President Trump simply lost that Putin gained there just by being on the world stage and walking down a red carpet with the president. Your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, critics of President Trump are always going to find something to criticize. You don't even pay attention to it anymore. But I will tell you this, Putin is already on the world stage. He's already on the world stage. The guy's conducting a full-scale war in Ukraine. He's already on the world stage. He has the world's largest tactical nuclear arsenal in the world and the second largest strategic nuclear arsenal in the world. He's already on the world stage. When I hear people say that, it elevates him, well, all we do is talk about Putin all the time. All the media's done is talk about Putin all the time for the last 4 or 5 years. That doesn't mean he's right about the war. That doesn't mean he's justified about the war. Put all that aside. It means you're not going to have a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. You're not going to end a war between Russia and Ukraine without dealing with Putin. That's just common sense. I shouldn't even have to say it. So people can say whatever they want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to get the Russian side to agree to things that they don't want to agree to if we're going to have peace. If not, there'll just be a war. They'll keep killing each other, and life will go on in America and in the rest of the world, but not for Ukraine. So the president has invested a lot of time in trying to bring an end to this war. He deserves credit for doing that. He gets criticism for doing that. He could have just let this war go on. The president could have just said, this is Biden's war. It started under him. We'll do what we can for Ukraine, but we're going to focus on other things. He could have easily said that. But he's the only leader in the world that can get Putin to a meeting to talk about serious things.
Yeah, but no good deed goes unpunished by the D.C. press corps if you're Trump or, frankly, any other Republican. And every bad deed goes unpunished on the other side, such that they, again, without any irony, without any, we're here because of some of the decisions you made, ostensibly. Maybe you want to have a bit of an accounting there with Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton and Susan Rice and the rest of them. No, that didn't happen. But Trump, who inherited this problem, and yes, admittedly said number one, they wouldn't have invaded if I would have been president, which Putin sort of echoed, and I don't take anything Putin says as face value, but certainly the argument can be made since he had a term in which Putin didn't invade, then did post-Trump. Obama invasion, Trump no invasion, Biden invasion. I mean, maybe there's something to that. But in addition, Rubio's right. He could pay lip service. He could slow walk Ukraine the way that Biden did and provide much more of a glide path for the Russians in the process. everybody with their Slava Ukraine and their flag iconography on social media and so forth, like an Adam Kinzinger fanboy of war and of the previous administration, and yet here, we find ourselves where we found ourselves when Trump took office in January. So he could just say, "Hey, look, not my problem." And Europe, you're going to have to do not just some of the heavy lifting, all of the heavy lifting. You want to stop it, then you stop it. Your big talk about the troops you're willing to commit, the resources you're willing to commit in France and UK. Okay, well, let's see it. And somebody else can stop the killing. But Trump recognizes he has moral as well as geopolitical responsibility as the head of state of the world's superpower to intervene to try to engender peace where possible. As, oh, by the way, he has done a considerable amount of already in his second term. I mean, just thinking about Iran and Israel, thinking about Armenia and Azerbaijan, and for his first term, the Abraham Accords, many instances. So whatever you want to say about Trump and his particular style, rhetorically or strategically, he is somebody that has backed up his rhetorical interest in stopping the killing, his rhetorical interest in peace, with substantive steps. A lot more so than some of those previous administrations, Republicans and Democrats, who talk the Council on Foreign Relations international rap and leave burning oil derricks all around after their term in office. One of the other stupid media narratives, as Rubio called it, this was an exchange with Margaret Brennan, the insufferable, the idiotic Margaret Brennan, who tries to pretend she is a woman of substance. She's probing and tough and knowledgeable on the scene with her earnestness. But if you actually listen to what she says, much as if you watch how she moderates a vice presidential debate, for example, don't forget about her past record, like Martha Raddatz. It's just silliness. It's just the left's talking points, the left's slander du jour with an earnestness in delivery. Stupid media narrative. The Europeans are coming because they're aghast at what happened and they need to back Zelensky so that Trump doesn't roll over him and turn over the whole country to Russia.
There is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Can you?
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming.
That February Oval Office meeting
here
in front of television cameras where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings we've had since then?
Oh no, I know, and I was just up in Alaska watching the one with Vladimir Putin where a red carpet rolled out.
No, but with Zelensky, we've had more meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. So, but that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
And they said President Trump was going to demand a ceasefire
as early as Thursday. No. But you said that they're coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming here tomorrow. Oh, this is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
And by the way, I thought Zelensky was like the Ukrainian incarnation of George Washington. How is Zelensky, fatigues and all, going to be bullied by anyone? I thought he was one of the world's great leaders, world's most intrepid heads of state. And now you're worried about him getting bullied, so he needs European chaperones? First of all, it's not true. It's ridiculous, and it casts their hero, Zelensky, as a rather diminutive figure, doesn't it? Which is odd. But they'll do anything to try to find a way to unfairly criticize Trump, even at the use of Zelensky as some sort of victim. He's George Washington. He's like George Washington and Douglas MacArthur all rolled into one. That's what we were told. And now he's going to get bullied by Trump to accept a deal he doesn't want to accept. All right, we'll have more on this at 5:38. We'll take some of your calls as well, and we'll be pouring over this in the 7 o'clock hour. Some expert observations from our friend Stephen Bucci. But again, more from Trump and what transpired over the weekend and his sit down with Putin, and taking your calls. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says while a ceasefire is still an option for Russia and Ukraine, the focus remains on coming to a peace deal that will permanently end the war.
Rubio outlined the priority during an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press.
I mean, who would be against the fact if tomorrow we came to you and said we have a full peace deal and it's done? I think that's the best way to end the war. Now, whether there needs to be a ceasefire on the way there, well, we've advocated for that. Unfortunately, the Russians, as of now, have not agreed to that.
His comments come just days after President Trump's historic summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Trump called that meeting productive, but said that no deal was made. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Former Vice President Mike Pence is defending President Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard troops to Washington, D.C.
While appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Pence said he welcomes the president's decision to ensure the streets of D.C. are safe. Troops reported for duty last Tuesday to carry out President Trump's directive to address crime in the nation's capital. The Trump administration says homeless people in D.C. could face jail time amid his federal crackdown. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices. Their blinds are handcrafted to fit your window, and if they don't for any reason, they'll remake them for free. Your satisfaction is always guaranteed at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But
Charlie Kirk says we have to step it up.
The point is this, is that if you're going to try to appeal to the Democrats' virtue or higher calling, they don't have a higher calling. So why are we trying to persuade and we're trying to create a deal? Break their will. They are taking the United States hostage. This is an active hostage political situation happening in the U.S. Senate.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid. The high will reach 87. Tonight, anticipate mostly cloudy skies, staying warm and very humid. Showers and thunderstorms are likely with the heaviest rain early on. Some storms may bring strong winds, flash floods, and hail. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft talking about the Trump-Putin summit over the weekend in Anchorage. First Lady Melania Trump has also interjected in advance of peace. She wrote a letter to Putin, Fox News obtained. Dear President Putin, every child shares the same quiet dreams in their heart, whether born randomly into a nation's rustic countryside or a magnificent city center. They dream of love, possibility, and safety from danger. As our parents, it's our duty to nurture the next generation's hope. As leaders, the responsibility to sustain our children extends beyond the comfort of a few. We must strive to paint a dignity-filled world for all, so that every soul may wake to peace, and so the future itself is perfectly guarded. A simple yet profound concept, Mr. Putin, as I'm sure you agree, is that each generation's descendants begin their lives with a purity, an innocence which stands above geography, government, and ideology. And goes on. Mr. Putin, you can single-handedly restore the melodic laughter of the children. In protecting the innocence of these children, you will do more than serve Russia alone. You will serve humanity itself. Such a bold idea transcends all human division, and you, Mr. Putin, are fit to implement this vision with a stroke of the pen today. It is time. It is time, writes First Lady Melania Trump. I mean, it's a perfectly fine letter, and she's perfectly within her rights to make such an appeal to whatever constitutes Putin's humanity. I'm not sure that that's going to go anywhere, but it's a nice gesture, and it certainly strikes the right tone, and it's certainly consistent with the Trump administration's and the president's posture in the direction of peace, as we were just discussing before. And actually, he's built up quite a nice little track record in helping to broker at least temporary cessations of hostilities the world over. That is worth noting. Now, Trump has made enough deals, I suppose, that he knows when a deal is done and when a deal isn't. And this is what he said in the joint press conference after their 3-hour sit-down about how close they were to a deal.
So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Ratcliffe. Thank you very much.
And so both Zelensky and Western European leaders were briefed. They're going to be here today, here meaning the White House today, to attempt to further the flag in the direction of peace. Trump offered a little bit more color on Hannity. He sat down with a one-on-one with our friend Sean Hannity after all the dust had settled and the post-game press conference had been completed, and just offered more on what they agreed on, generally speaking, and rather than the specifics, he just sort of gave a general characterization of how much agreement was there versus how much disagreement, and then ultimately said the ball's in Zelensky's court.
I mean, we were together almost 3 hours, and it was very extensive, and we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points we agreed on, but there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit, but it's up to President Zelensky. I think we are, and if they'd like, I'll be at that next meeting. They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess, I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done. And we have a pretty good chance of getting it done.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Mark in Oak Lawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Good morning. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Morning. The one thing that gets me with this war is that, it all could have been avoided with the Obama administration, with Hillary Clinton, Victoria Nuland, the list goes on, Boris Johnson, George Soros money. I mean, they ousted the president of Ukraine, democracy. And they put in the comedian, and then you got all these biolabs over there, outside of the border of Russia. The money laundering, $35 billion of weapons supposedly going to Ukraine. I wonder how much of that money was laundered, into the pockets of some of these clowns. And it's just 7,000 people killed last week. It's. I don't know how to sort of lost for words now, but when is it going to end?
Well,
Dan, can I make one last point?
Yeah.
One last point. I forgot about this one. Do you think these Democrats, would they rather keep the war going than let Trump have a victory lap?
Well, okay. Thanks for the call, Mark. Yeah, I mean, part of it is defining victory in such a way that it's not achievable. This is the other thing they're doing, sort of moving the goalposts. You have the situation that they were party to creating, the environment for it to occur in the first place, both Crimea as well as the invasion into eastern Ukraine, as well as the response that encouraged Putin to dig in his heels and basically spare no expense militarily or in terms of human lives in pursuit of whatever it is exactly he wants. This is subject for much debate, and it's an important debate because it speaks to the sort of policy response that would be proportional and appropriate. If he just wants eastern Ukraine, that's one thing. If this is the domino theory that's been advanced, he'll march on to Kyiv, he'll take over Ukraine, and then he'll go to the Baltics and Poland and Romania and try to reconstitute Mother Russia or Mother Soviet Union. Well, that's another thing in terms of what your policy response should be. But I mean, the moving the goalposts on what victory looks like, you may have seen the top line here. Hillary Clinton says if Trump gets peace deal, she'll nominate him for Nobel Peace Prize. But that's not what she actually said. And it's important to listen to what she actually said so that no matter what happens, even if he was able to broker an end to the war, a realistic end that includes Ukraine losing some of that territory in the 5 disputed regions, some, if not most of that territory in the 5 disputed regions. Listen to what she said. This was the Hill Dog, Secretary of State Kankles, on Jessica Tarlov's podcast. This is what Trump needs to pull off for Hillary to make that call to the Nobel Committee.
Honestly, if he could bring about the end to this terrible war where Putin is the aggressor, invading a neighbor country, try to change the borders, if he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, had to, in a way, validate Putin's vision of greater Russia, but instead could really stand up to Putin, something we haven't seen, but maybe this is the opportunity, to make it clear that there must be a ceasefire. There will be no exchange of territory, and that over a period of time, Putin should be actually withdrawing from the territory he seized in order to demonstrate his good faith efforts, let us say, not to threaten European security. If we could pull that off, if President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, that's what she actually said, right? So if he gets, if Ukraine keeps all of their territory, even the territory Putin controls, and over time he withdraws, signaling a defeat, then I would nominate. Okay, well that's not going to happen. No one believes that's possible. And of course, this was not offered as the standard for the success or failure of the Biden administration's Ukrainian policy, or the Obama-Hillary Clinton administration's policy for Ukraine after Crimea was annexed. But now this is the impossible standard that Trump has to meet. Otherwise, he's still Putin's man in Washington, D.C. It's amazing the gall that they have. It's not really amazing because I'm not surprised, but it's just the level of gall is something to witness, that they're still making these, Russiagate insinuations, despite what we know, but what we're learning anew every day as to just how deep and cynical it was. As deep and cynical as we thought it was, but didn't have all of the proof after the Mueller investigation. Day after day. This is a week after the Clapper and Rogers memo. After we know this was all birthed in December of 2016 under the direction of outgoing President Barack Obama and his outgoing Secretary of State and his defeated candidate, Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's really something to listen to these people. Maurice in Berwyn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
And I'm going to prefix this by saying that perhaps I'm even wrong. And as a byproduct of having people who served in the military, having relatives that served in the military and doing 4 years of ROTC in high school. And as I told the screener, what would Reagan do? Would Reagan, and I'm such a staunch believer in democracy, I would not give Putin even an ounce of soil. And I know Reagan would bomb them. But I'm also open to being told that I'm wrong, because I feel like I believe in democracy so much, I can't even believe that we're even open to having a conversation about allowing Putin to even get part of this compromise is like, oh, hey, take a little bit of their land or keep what you have. But also I'm thinking, like, am I wrong? Like, is that part of what makes this agreement? I'm open to being told I'm wrong, but maybe I grew up and I'm just antiquated, and I grew up under Reagan.
Well, Reagan would bomb who? You think Reagan would bomb Russia in this situation?
I think Reagan would definitely stand some ground and say, well, if you want them, come for them, but be ready for fight. Be ready for the fight. Maybe I have a wrong interpretation. I was a kid, but I just can't see it being part of it. Like, well, just kind of talk about it, guys. But once again, I'm open to being told I'm wrong.
Reagan didn't. I think you are wrong.
Okay, I'm open to it, but I just feel like that guy was still his ground, and it would not have been such a lengthy conversation.
Well, I mean, Reagan's personality and his rhetorical style is completely different than Trump's. I'll grant you that. I mean, he called, he would say the evil empire, and then he would sit down with, and he did sit down with, Gorbachev, although he did walk out of the meeting in Reykjavik too. So, but his rhetorical style was different. It's just they're different personalities. But the idea that Reagan in this situation would bomb Russia to try to get them to retreat.
No, not bomb, but but I mean, he would have a stronger stance, is what I'm saying.
Well, what is the stronger stance? I mean, it's all just rhetorical. I mean, this is where we're at 3 years in these are the losses that Ukraine is incurring. They can't sustain it. We don't really have popular support to sustain them trying to sustain it. And even just providing the tens of billions of dollars in weapons that the Europeans are in part financing, that's not going to sustain it because of the overwhelming manpower and military advantage Russia has, which everybody knew going in but tried to ignore because they were all whipped into some jingoistic frenzy on behalf of the comedian in Ukraine because the D.C. press corps told him to. So you know, as I said, you know, we watch Russia take Crimea. We do very little. We watch Russia invade eastern Ukraine. We do very little, except rhetorically, and then sending weapons. And those are slow to come, and the casualties mounted up. And here is where Ukraine is right now, which is not in a particularly strong position. They're an admirable will to fight on, notwithstanding. So now what do you do?
But is there a fear that if you allow this guy to just occupy that land, that he won't stop?
Well,
that's my fear.
No, that's a fair fear. Thanks for the call, Maurice. And one of the things that we found out, we didn't find out a lot of detail, but one of the things we found out, Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, made mention of it in his appearance on Jake Tapper's program. Now that Jake Tapper got his program back, that's a little hot mic moment reference I'll get to later. But Witkoff on the accommodations that they were seeing. So in terms of the openness to a deal that Putin exhibited, again, I understand you can't take it, you know, with a grain of salt, and you can't trust anything he says. I understand, but there were some specifics that were on the back and forth. You know, NATO is a red line. NATO membership's a red line for Ukraine. But Putin, according to Witkoff, did seem to give on something approximating an Article 5 agreement, Article 5 language from, I'm talking about from the NATO Charter, which is an attack on one is an attack on all. According to Witkoff, Putin was open to the idea that there wouldn't be a NATO member, but the United States would include language that an attack on Ukraine is seen as an attack on the U.S. and its NATO allies, and there'll be a response. Not formal NATO membership, but sort of informal, the same relationship.
We are seeing accommodation more than we've seen in the past, certainly more than we saw in the last administration. And that's encouraging. Now we have to build on that. And we have to get a deal for the Ukrainians that allows for their self-determination, allows a protection of their sovereign borders. We have to make sure that we achieve that, and the president is intent on getting to that place.
And he's referring to that sort of Article 5, de facto Article 5 language / protection there in that comment. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan. The European leaders that are accompanying Zelensky on his visit are not doing it because they're afraid that he'll be bullied by Trump. It's because they believe there is safety in numbers with all the crime in D.C.
Hi-oh. For the call, George. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
I think there might be something wrong with your transmission because you were talking about like Trump and Hillary Clinton, and then I heard this absolutely horrible sound coming out of your voice. What do you think? So I'm not sure what's going on.
Right, okay.
So it'd probably be a great alarm and wakes you up. Oh my gosh. I don't think her opinion really matters as much as it used to. I mean, how old is she now? And what kind of frame of mind do you think, like, the younger generation X or any other younger generation really pays any attention to what Hillary Clinton has to say?
No, but within the party poobahs, thanks for the call, Kevin, within the party poobahs, because she's just saying the same thing or a version of the same thing that people like Sullivan and Rice are saying too. I mean, this is all, you know, the Clinton / Obama world, but I'm glad that they're being, I mean, it's incredible that the gall that they have, as I said, to appear on these shows and be wagging their fingers at Trump, given that they've left him this catastrophic environment in Eastern Europe. But it's also useful because it's an opportunity for them to be challenged on that. And of course, they're not going to be challenged on the DC press corps by the DC press corps, which is another illustration of how in the tank the DC press corps is for that party to which they serve. And so it's just a teachable moment, if nothing else. But bringing them back reminds us about who presided over the last decade of, with the 4-year interregnum of Trump 1.0, where there was no activity, but who otherwise presided over the last decade of Russian incursions into Ukraine. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't understand the lack of attention brought to, am I right, over 20,000 children kidnapped? I mean, what's the conditions of these children? Where are they at? I mean, Michelle Obama made a big deal about where are our girls years ago, but it's like silence. It's like an afterthought. You don't hear much about it. And in my opinion, if Michelle Obama wrote a letter to Vladimir Putin, she would be up for canonization in the Catholic Church. I mean, it's something. It's really something.
That's what we need, Marvin. Thanks for the call. We need another Michelle Obama hashtag campaign, because that worked out so well for those girls that were kidnapped by Boko Haram.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160, Hope for Your Life. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Volodymyr Zelensky returns. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Ukraine's leader will go to the White House 6 months after a contentious visit.
Your country's in big trouble. Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking.
This time around, Zelensky's not coming alone. He'll be joined by leaders from NATO and Europe, leading some to suggest he'll get protection.
This is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio also tells CBS Face the Nation
the best way to end this conflict is through a full peace deal. There's no doubt about that.
As for today's meeting, well, Fox's Jared Halpern is reporting from the White House.
President Trump spoke with many of those leaders following his Friday summit in Alaska with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Following those talks, a ceasefire was not reached, but the president insists progress was made to strike a full peace agreement. U.S. officials have suggested potential land swaps coupled with U.S.-backed security guarantees for Ukraine.
As the war keeps raging, and an attack Zelensky says was intentional ahead of today's Washington talks, Russia bombed Zaporizhia, killing at least 3 people, wounding 20. 3 police officers shot late last night in Tremonton, Utah, responding to a disturbance.
Upon arrival, they immediately began taking fire. They requested additional units and then stopped answering their radio.
Brigham City Detective Crystal Beck, we don't know how badly wounded the officers are. The suspected gunman was later taken into custody. Hurricane Aaron remains a powerful Category 4 storm passing east of the Bahamas. Then Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz tells us it'll move away from the U.S.
We really are dodging a bullet with this. As it heads north, it weakens slowly, but what you'll notice is really staying away from all sort of landfall, particularly here in the United States.
Though Aaron would whip up the surf along the East Coast, even potentially cause some flooding. But America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Family members are saying goodbye to a woman who was severely wounded in a 2022 deadly shooting at a Chicago nightclub. Mariah Vera's aunt says her life is nearing an end as they prepare to move her to hospice care.
We lost my brother-in-law, a niece, a friend that day, and Mariah fought through. As strong as she is, her time has come for us to slowly say goodbye.
3 other people were killed after gunfire erupted outside the Vieira Lounge in December of 2022. Samuel Parsons Salas faces charges of murder and attempted murder in the incident. Hundreds of thousands of students at Chicago public schools are back in the classroom today to start the 2025-2026 school year. Multiple CPS schools will be visited by Mayor Johnson. Classes begin as district officials are dealing with a massive budget deficit for this school year. The school board is set to vote later this month on a budget proposal revealed by CPS last week. A judge is denying pretrial release for an Addison ice cream owner accused of secretly video recording multiple females at the business, including 2 minors. Stephen Weisberg faces child porn charges. Prosecutors say Weisberg installed a camera inside an outlet in the bathroom of Flavor Frenzy ice cream shop on West Lake Street. He was able to save footage from the camera on his laptop and cell phone. Multiple victims were female employees of the shop. Weisberg was arrested on Friday. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. I check the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Fox Valley Coins and by MyVirago.com.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword micro to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say micro to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities Securities, LLC.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound is about 10 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 13 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare, date-proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid with a high of 87. Tonight, expect considerable cloudiness, warmth, and high humidity. There will be a few showers and thunderstorms with the heaviest rain early. Some thunderstorms could bring strong winds, flash flooding, and hail with a low of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We spent the first hour talking about the Putin-Trump summit. And, a significant part of it is, in addition to what the actual possible terms are, all of this would have to be agreed to and negotiated in further detail. That would agreed to by Zelensky in particular, negotiated in further detail, probably trilateral talks, Ukraine, Russia, United States, maybe with our European dependents in tow. So obviously the terms of a stop to the war is central here. But the other piece that we were discussing a little bit later in the last hour, it's just the left's penchant for engineering disasters and then sitting on the sidelines after they've been sidelined by the voters and criticizing the cleanup crew as to how the cleanup crew remediates the disasters they inflicted upon the world. So that's what you saw in large measure on the Sunday talk shows over the weekend. Those DNC-sponsored talk shows with their stooges like Tapper and Brennan and Raddatz and so forth. And part of it was the ongoing Russiagate insinuations. And if you think I'm making this up, well, here's California Representative Eric Swalwell.
Well, if you're Europe, you're quite worried now because you just saw the president of the United States achieve zero, and they will have to ask themselves what more are they willing to do, knowing that they too could be thrown under the bus if Russia ever moved farther west. But as far as objectives, I was hoping to hear that there would be a trilateral meeting. That didn't come out of this. I was hoping to hear there'd be a ceasefire. That didn't come out of this. And I was hoping to at least hear about the territory that would be proposed or exchanged by both sides. That didn't come out of this. Look, Alicia, I don't know if Donald Trump is or is not a Russian asset. I do know that at press conferences like this and like at Helsinki, he certainly acts like one, and that is cold comfort for anyone in the United States.
I don't know if Trump is a Russian asset, but he certainly acts like one. I mean, you want to talk about they are trying to squeeze juice from a stone. This is worse than threatening gerrymandering. This ongoing Russiagate insinuations, and then that's not even much of an insinuation. That's pretty much a formal accusation. You know, I don't know if he is one, but he certainly acts like one for somebody who participated in the Russiagate hoax. I mean, there's just no shame with these individuals because there's no punishment, politically or otherwise. We'll see. We'll see. We do have the Pam Bondi strike force. I'm not so much Swalwell. He's just a, useful idiot that they throw up on MSNBC to offer lines like that. And by the way, just since we're talking about Swalwell, and before we get to Jim Comey, because holy fook, if I could borrow from that pilot and that Asiana Airlines flight that crashed in San Francisco, wait till you hear Jim Comey. But I digress. Eric Swalwell, the main reason I share that clip, well, one is to show you an example of the insinuations I'm referencing that were attendant to the criticism of Trump from the left over the weekend. But it's also just to provide a little bit of color on Eric Swalwell. We don't want to forget about Martha Raddatz, just a couple apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. We don't want to forget about Jake Tapper and his, expository book. There was some sort of cover-up with respect to Biden's mental acuity, don't you know? And we were all duped, but now I'm holding people to account because he's an intrepid journalist. Margaret Brennan, we have so much to get to, trying to silence J.D. Vance during the Vance-Walz VP debate last year. Let's remember the body of work from these individuals. So we make sure to remind ourselves to not take anything that they say or do seriously. Much like Putin, everything from them is in service of a political angle. So it should be immediately dismissed. VDH on Eric Swalwell, remembering his body of work.
Eric Swalwell, well, as I said, I wrote some critical things of China, and Fang Fang came to see me as a consular official out of the Bay Area, and I think she told me she was a political operative that monitored American politics, but when she walked in my office at the Hoover Institution, I kept the door open. I had one of my research people with me the whole time, and the way she changed accents and how she was dressed, you would have to be a stupid, narcissistic idiot to fall for that. I'm serious. In my case, it was, maybe he would say it's easier because I'm an old man, but my point was, it was about 10 or 12 years ago, and he fell for that. And he got involved with her when he was on the House Intelligence Committee. So end of story with that guy. He's anybody who would fall for her. Honeypot, it was just a joke. Anybody could see that.
And joke, a narcissistic idiot, yeah, all fit. That's Eric Swalwell, who MSNBC regularly platforms without qualification. Right, without stipulation, no, and there's never any pushback. I mean, the idea that you put on people that are so lacking in credibility and at least don't challenge them, just like Jake Tapper throwing to Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, you're going to let these people who've been completely discredited, who perpetrated this fraud on the American public, really participate in a fifth column action to wire the government against an incoming president and then an incumbent president and his staff and anybody else they could. That's who they are. Jim Comey. Good Lord, Jim Comey. Jim Comey took the occasion this weekend to offer one of his profound missives on social media. You know, Jim Comey faced a camera, talking straight, trying to provide some stewardship for the country in these challenging times. It's so nice to have a steady hand on the wheel like a Jim Comey. the comparison, or not even so much the comparison, where Jim Comey finds his guidance when it comes to leadership, when it comes to, those values that make for great leaders. Who he is inspired by when it comes to challenging Trump. Who he tries to model himself after. This is the former director of the FBI. This is like a former, number 3 at Department of Justice.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my Substack. Last week's cold turns out to have been COVID. Quite a flashback. And Donald Trump is still president and still humiliating America on a national stage, standing next to Vladimir Putin. It's like a dream, a bad dream you can't wake up from. But I don't want to talk about that bad dream this week. I want to talk about a truly inspirational public figure named Taylor Swift. Of course, I watched her podcast interview with the Kelsey brothers. Of course, I watched the whole thing, although on YouTube, Patrice and I got kicked off for the last 15 minutes and finished it on her phone. But I watched it. You see, Taylor Swift and I go way back. I went to my first concert of hers 15 years ago. I've been to a second, and I have helped financially support the attendance of a lot of family members at others. I'm in a family's Swiftie group chat. I know all her music, and I listen to it in my headphones when I cut the grass. So yes, I have a favorite of hers, although honestly for me it's a tie between All Too Well, 10-minute version, and Exile featuring Bon Iver. Taylor Swift has grown up with my family and provided us a soundtrack, really, as we've grown ourselves and learned and adapted and dealt with adversity and celebration. She had songs for all of it. I suspect that's something that millions of Americans have also experienced in their families. I think that's because Taylor Swift produces great art, but also because she models something. At every stage of her career, she's shown a certain way of being that resonated with my kids and also felt right to me as a parent. And she's still doing that as a grown-up. Like a lot of you, I struggle with how to stand up to bullies without letting their meanness infect me and change me. You may have seen that the governor of California has been generating a lot of attention lately by posting on social media in a satirical way where he mocks Donald Trump and his all-caps megalomania and his absurdity. And I find it very funny, hilarious even sometimes. But I gotta be honest, it also leaves me with a strange feeling at times because I don't want us to become like Trump and his followers. There are far more decent, honest, kind people in America than there are mean jerks. And don't get me wrong, we have our jerks, millions of them, you may have noticed. In particular, there's a stunning coarseness and ugliness in the Republican Party today. It's upsetting, but it's also a minority of America. On the whole, we aren't like that, and we don't like that. I think that's a big part of the reason so few Americans support Donald Trump when they have to see him and that up close, and why Republicans are so worried about what's coming for them next year. And to be clear, I am not an advocate for weakness. Of course we need to stand up to jerks and defend what matters, but I think we have to try to do that without becoming like them, which is what makes me think about Taylor Swift. She's made clear that she sees Donald Trump for what he is. And last year, she urged Americans not to make the serious mistake of electing him. Of course, we're now living with the consequences of that mistake. But while our elderly makeup-covered president is posting about whether Taylor Swift is still hot and declaring that he can't stand her, what's she doing? Living her best life, producing great music and, as she urged all of us to do during the podcast, not giving the jerks power over her mind.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what to say. Who else has Taylor Swift as their North Star when it comes to how they think about how a free society should be organized? their own approach to dealing with meanies in their lives. Jim Comey, yeah, he's not a guy for weakness. No. But he doesn't know always how to deal with mean people without, letting that meanness seep in. He wants to be the nice, happy-go-lucky guy he's always been. And unfortunately, allegedly, in some of the jobs he's held, he's had to deal with those meanies, those jerky people. I appreciate Jim Comey's childlike innocence almost as much as I appreciate his keeping up with pop culture the way that he does, his encyclopedic knowledge of Taylor Swift's oeuvre of art. These are serious people. The left says so. Accomplished novelist and crime fighter. The Elliot Ness of our time, Jim Comey. All credit goes to Taylor. Corey and Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. I forget, I'm terrible with European names, but I forget the gentleman's name that said this, but I remember the quote. He said, everything the state says is a lie. And the Democrats, they go way and beyond that. I mean, again, we have to hear with this Donald Trump is a Russian asset. There was no repercussions for them doing this all of that time before he got elected, after he got elected. This gets out of control.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Well, WWTSD, what would Taylor Swift do? Maybe that's a question Trump should be asking himself. I'd like to end with a deep thought from Jim Comey. Well, from Taylor Swift vis-a-vis Jim Comey, sort of the Stuart Smalley of law enforcement. These are the quotes he recites to himself to convince himself he's good enough, he's smart enough, and doggone it, people like him.
At my second Taylor Swift concert in Hartford, Connecticut, 14 years ago this summer, she sang a song about this topic, asking, why you gotta be so mean? And she spoke directly to the nasty people. I bet you got pushed around, somebody made you cold, but the cycle ends right now because you can't lead me down that road. You'll be glad I didn't sing that.
And then it was just the waterworks, I understand, at the concert from Comey. He just cried and cried and cried. It just, spoke such truth to him. Honest to goodness, this guy.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. A new poll from Gallup found the percentage of Americans who drink alcohol has fallen to its lowest level in history. On the other hand, drug use is at an all-time high, and young adults use marijuana more regularly than alcohol, while our youth use it at the same rate, which, before legalization, was never the case. This is the result of years-long campaigns warning of the dangers of alcohol and nearly zero campaigns on the dangers of marijuana, which we consistently destigmatize. What the alcohol survey shows is what previous successful drug messaging shows. When perception of risk and harm goes up, use goes down. We've done the opposite with marijuana and get headlines like we did last week from the New York Times. Quote, cannabis poisonings are rising, mostly among kids. As products like weed gummies proliferate, more children and teens are suffering symptoms, including seizures and life-threatening breathing problems. We must do better. Our inconstancy and inconsistency in the battle for our children's health depends on it.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I made reference to this cat fight that broke out over at CNN. Jake Tapper was dispatched to Anchorage to cover the Trump-Putin summit on site, and Gloria Vanderbilt's kid, Andy Cooper, was back in studio. And I don't know, I think there's some tension there between those two girls.
Let's go back to Jake in Anchorage. Jake?
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
Show's back.
All right, here we go. So let's go now to Senator Schiff, who we have here. Senator Schiff is joining me.
Oh, boy. Jake Tapper getting a little bitchy in the direction of Andy Cooper, huh? That was fun. This was fun, too. Just on a more substantive note. Barely more, because it's hard to traffic in substance when you do these talk shows if you're someone like Secretary of State Rubio. So Marco Rubio, he played some clips last hour of him explaining to Margaret Brennan the stupid media narrative about the Europeans coming to chaperone Zelensky to make sure he doesn't get pushed around by mean old Trump. Mean old Trump. Meanie. One of the meanies that Jim Comey talking about. Taylor Swift inspires him to fight. Marco Rubio also had to explain to Margaret Brennan, and I'm sure most of her audience, how a deal comes together. You know, because she's very worried about, we're going to set a precedent that it's okay to invade and take a land from a sovereign country if there's any sort of land swap that goes on. Okay, Margaret, and anybody else who engineered this catastrophe, what is your bigger, better play? Well, we don't know. We just know that we want to live in a world without consequences. We have these utopian ideas about how the world actually works. We don't want to get our hands dirty. We just want to take shots at you for getting your hands dirty. Here's how it works when two sides are negotiating a deal. This is like deal making 101. It's embarrassing that Rubio has to get into this level of obvious detail with somebody who's supposed to, well, somebody that at least the people inside the Beltway consider a serious person, and why there's such disconnect between the people inside the Beltway and the people outside.
If Vladimir Putin is going to be offered land that he has not seized yet, but negotiates his way into, doesn't this set a dangerous precedent that the United States now accepts this concept that it is okay to seize land by force?
Well, Putin's already seized land by force, and that in and of itself is not a positive precedent. This whole war
is demanding a withdrawal?
Precedent. Well, again, in order to have a deal here to reach the end of this conflict, both sides are going to have to make concessions. That's just a fact.
Does that mean
in any negotiation,
where Russian forces are?
But this is not about acceptance. This is about what Ukraine can accept and what Russia can accept. They both have to accept it. Otherwise, there won't be a peace deal. Okay? If there aren't concessions, if one side gets everything they want, that's called surrender. That's called the end of the war through surrender. And that's not what we're close to doing, because neither side here is on the verge of surrender or anything close to it. So in order for there to be a peace deal, this is just a fact. We may not like it. It may not be pleasant. It may be distasteful. But in order for there to be an end of the war, there are things Russia wants that it cannot get, and there are things Ukraine wants that it's not going to get. Both sides are going to have to give up something in order to get to the table, in order to make this happen. That's just the way it is. And I mean, the sooner we accept that, that's the reality. Now, what those things are is going to be up to both sides. There's no conditions that can be imposed on Ukraine. They're going to have to accept things, but they're going to have to get things too. And so, for example, Ukraine is a sovereign country. They have a right, like every sovereign country does in the world, to enter into security alliances with other countries to prevent an invasion in the future, to prevent threats to their national security. That's not an unreasonable request. That's something that needs to be worked on. Territories will have to be discussed. It's just a fact. And there are things that maybe Russia's holding now that they're going to have to give up. Who knows? The point is, we need to create a scenario where that becomes possible. And that's why this has been so hard, because neither side up to now has been, willing to give on some of these things. But we'll see if that's possible. It may not be, but we're going to try, and we're going to do everything we can to try to achieve a peace.
But I don't like the facts. Hey, Marker, why don't you try throwing your rattle at Putin, see if that gets him to withdraw from Ukraine. Coming up at 6:36, we'll switch gears. The Bolivians voted out the socialists. Maybe someday Illinoisans can do the same. We'll talk money and markets with Jim Urio at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to robust security guarantees for Ukraine.
Witkoff talked about the agreement in an interview with CNN's State of the Union.
We got to an agreement that the United States and other European nations could effectively offer Article 5-like language to cover a security guarantee.
Witkoff, who sat in on Trump's meeting with Putin on Friday, said it was the first time we'd ever heard the Russians agree to such a provision. He said other agreements also included a legislative enshrinement by Russia to not go into any other territory when the peace deal is codified. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The House probe in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case will hear from its first witness today. Former Attorney General William Barr is scheduled to appear at a closed-door House committee chaired by Republican James Comer. Comer also subpoenaed former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with other top officials. Republicans on the committee say that they're also seeking information from these officials regarding the Epstein files. News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560 The Answer. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees the president revving up our economy.
This will be a historic day for U.S. trade. President Trump unlocked one of the biggest economies in the world. The European Union completely accept our auto and industrial standards for the first time ever. In addition, it will purchase $750 billion of energy from us.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. It's fairly obvious they were inspired by Hasseless mattress. Hasseless showrooms are employee-free, plus unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic, plus free next-day delivery, plus 60-month interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit, plus a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Maybe we should change our name to Hasseless Plus. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasseless.com.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound is about 10 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 13 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid. The high will reach 87. Tonight, anticipate mostly cloudy skies, staying warm and very humid. Showers and thunderstorms are likely with the heaviest rain early on. Some storms may bring strong winds, flash floods, and hail. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. There's an interesting post on X by Antonio Garcia Martinez, who is a blockchain crypto guy, entrepreneur in that space. Pretty successful. Anyway, given the backdrop of all this argument about the jobs numbers and the contretemps over the Bureau of Labor Statistics flunky getting replaced by another back office guy whose name you'll never remember after the week of press. I thought this was sort of interesting. He posted two maps. The top employer in each state in 1990, the top employer in each state in 2024. In 1990, the top employer in the full Midwest, from Minnesota down to Arkansas, over to the eastern seaboard, the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, and then inward to Tennessee, Kentucky. Manufacturing sector, top employer in all those states, including all those Rust Belt states, including Illinois, down to the eastern seaboard, over to, the middle South, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and even the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington. In 2024, the number of states where the manufacturing sector is the top employer has been cut by like a fifth, by like 4/5. And basically like about 3 dozen states, the top employer is healthcare, which, given government being the largest purchaser of healthcare in the country, and that was the case even before Obamacare, it speaks to a much more government-centric American economy. Here's his riff on these two maps, this Martinez guy I mentioned. One of my conspiracy theories is that much of the American economy is fake. Millions are employed in entire workfare industries like TSA, DMV, Postal Service, HR, plunging labor participation rate, and sky-high welfare, SSDI, SNAP rate. 20% of GDP is insanely marked up healthcare. Asset bubbles in cities are driven up by NIMBY and FOMO, fear of missing out. I think everybody knows NIMBY. All of this is propped up by an overvalued dollar, which the government can't stop printing, conveniently the global reserve currency, because our economic rival is a hermetic dictatorship. Yes, it does help to be the tallest midget, so to speak. Tallest skyscraper in Wichita, to borrow Buckleyism. He goes on, the only realish parts are a small, people-wise, tech sector that launders that bloated paper wealth into a fantastically dynamic entrepreneurial talent sorting machine, with much of the talent having to be imported, and a ruthlessly efficient services industry that keeps costs of living down for the well-off, with much of the labor having to be imported again. Well, if that's true, what does that implicate other than society's dealing with, a post-scarcity environment, I guess, one would argue. A lot of rent-seeking going on. I mean, the entire healthcare industry is built around rent-seeking because it's all backed by the government. Backed and driven directly in terms of pricing and so forth. Do we have a fake economy? I mean, is this all, sort of our Enron accounting and sort of phony baloney jobs that are predicated on rent seeking and wealth transfers? Could this be a bubble that pops, despite all of the prognostications that the things are going relatively swimmingly with 3% GDP growth and low unemployment rate and inflation that is moderating? I don't want to be a Chicken Little. I just thought it was an interesting observation, particularly when you look at the economic engines, the top employing sectors in each state, and you say, gosh, I don't think that's a map that America Firsters would celebrate. For more on this, Jim Urio joins us, host of the Future's Edge podcast, special contributor Wirepoint, wirepoints.org, wirepoints.com, and owner of Brandt's Restaurant in Palatine. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
So we moved from a map in 1990, top employing sector, that was dominated by manufacturing with a dozen states that the major employing sector was retail, to 3/4 of the country, it's healthcare, a little bit of manufacturing, a little bit of retail, hospitality in Nevada and Wyoming, and that's it.
It's quite amazing. So the manufacturing part of it, there's two different elements to the discussion first, because manufacturing was always going to kind of go away as trade routes opened and we could take advantage of cheap labor in Mexico, cheap labor in East Asia. But it happened so much more quickly than it should have that it was disruptive, and that was due to regulation. It was currency manipulation by the Chinese that was blessed by the administration back in the 90s, and they took all our manufacturing in 18 to 20 years in what should have taken 50 years. And that disrupts market. It disrupts small town America. Now, back to the government jobs portion of this. The last 4 years, these economists from the left would keep coming on and telling us how good the economy was, while at the same time we were racking up $1 trillion extra debt every 95 days by the end of it, and the huge preponderance of the jobs that they claimed were created were government jobs. And I love the fact, and you pointed this out, and I'm just going to reiterate it again. We talk about healthcare and TSA and all these companies that are supposed to be private, but the government is their basically only customer, yet they're government jobs too. And arguing otherwise is just completely semantics. So have we built a fake economy? To a certain degree, the answer to that is yes. I mean, we're still America. We have resources. We have people. We have brains. We have the tech sector. Can we pull ourselves out of it? I think the answer to that is yes. But is there something that's fake about it? I don't think there's any question at all. We have a $37.2 trillion national debt, and it just keeps growing to try to support this bloated collectivist government worker glut.
Well, and then so then how do you see how do you see AI factoring into all of this? I mean, but part of it is these sectors that are already efficient and technology driven, including manufacturing. It seems to me will get more efficient and generate more productivity per marginal worker. But the sectors that are insulated from those bottom line sensitivities from market accountability, which includes a large swath of the healthcare sector, won't, because they don't have to, or they certainly don't have to at the same rate. And so, how does that all this talk about displacement, but when you have all these guarantees and the left are wanting more guarantees of employment, that a job is a right and workers should have more rights vis-a-vis their bosses, just like the people should have more rights vis-a-vis their political representatives. I mean, this argument that is taking hold in big cities with major employers and some states generally. So how do you see that shaking out in terms of American vitality, I guess?
So anytime there's a planned economy, you hit on exactly why it has to fail and always fails, because capitalism, for all its flaws, allows for the nimble change and transfer of capital to be allocated towards different areas. When government controls any portion of the means of production, and even if it's a small portion of it, that's not the way it works. All decisions are made for political reasons and not for efficiency and and profitability things. So there's no question that this is a bad place we've gotten to. The AI thing is amazing and terrifying all at the same time. I mean, the ground is shifting under us, I think, faster than at any time in my career or in life. And I think the people who learn to adapt to it are going to be very well off. And it's not. And chasing it, the investment part of it, everyone thought, okay, who makes the chips? Who makes chips? But now everybody is kind of all at once talking about who is going to utilize AI to become more productive. And to your point, that means less jobs. We had one of my favorite analysts, guy by the name of Luke Roman, was on our show a couple months ago, and he said we are angling toward a time where a plumber is going to make more money than a partner at Goldman. And at the time, we laughed, thinking that's a joke. But it's not really that much of a joke. The tech sector, the whole white-collar sector, is being uprooted. And I also have the theory that AI is more prevalent and deeper rooted than even is talked about. Because when Bank of America boasts that they're using AI to eliminate their HR department, that's great, and it's good for share price. But when small law firms, accounting firms start using AI all the time, they don't really want to talk about it that much because deep down they fear that it's going to replace them. So I don't think they're talking about as much writers, things like that. So I think AI is moving faster than people think. It is a huge productivity boost, which is good for the inflation part of this debate, but it's not good for the employment part of this debate for obvious reasons. Does that make sense? Your question was long, too, so my answer had to be long as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Proportional response. No, I agree. That was, yes, exactly. It was very tempered. Well, it's hard to get, it's difficult. I struggle to get my arms around this as well. I think a lot of people do. Just trying to see not only where this is going, but, what is the underlying structure upon which this is taking place? How sturdy or vulnerable is it really? It's
there's two different answers to that, though, Dan, because one is how sturdy is it really, but the second is how sturdy is it compared to the rest of the world, and which, by the way, it's a good thing, because we definitely have advantages in a lot of ways, but it's because of this, it's this idiotic notion of the people who are stewards of our currency and our economy. They look around the globe and say, well, these guys are making all these huge mistakes, so we can too. It's asinine.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, too, where this debate is going on about AI in terms of, what is the onset going to look like? Is it going to be, a robot takeover in the foreseeable future, sort of all at once? Or is it going to be, as William Gibson described the future, it's already here, it's just unevenly distributed. And it will just sort of, in a methodical way, manifests itself. There was a good interview. I mean, it was okay. Don't want to get too complimentary. Ezra Klein interviewed this economist you probably know, Natasha Sarin, for his podcast at the New York Times. And they were talking about it. And he mentions ATM. Obama used to talk about the ATM as technological innovation, and it replaced bank tellers, but it improved life, and it didn't bring on this, sort of collapse in employment that technologies like the ATM people were afraid technologies like the ATM would do. In fact, there were more bank tellers in the early days of the ATM. Now we have fewer bank tellers, but the point was the onset of it was much more gradual than predicted as the technology took hold, and then businesses could make adjustments accordingly. And one wonders if that's more like what is going to happen with AI, such that people in their 50s and 60s right now who need a few more years of working before they can retire are not going to be suddenly vaporized by the new AI paradigm.
Well, I'm still of the belief that it is going to do better things for our way of life than it is going to do worse and eliminate jobs and things that we used to do on our own. But I'm not as convinced of that in time. You mentioned the key word is gradual. When technologies come around, they can be destructive. It's Adam Smith's invisible hand. That's the beauty of them, provided everything shakes out in a gradual way and something that's acceptable for all. I am a little bit more fearful than most technologies about this one, about how radically it's going to change our life, and I don't necessarily like what's going to go to. But always, throughout history, everyone has complained about technology. The electric light bulb was going to put all the candle makers out of job, and it did. But if it happens at the right time, like Henry Ford, he said if he asked the people what they wanted, you know the quote, they would have said faster horses. So I mean, these are things that we don't know where they're going, and to think they are. But again, it's always been this trajectory. I mean, we look back at our life in the 60s and the 70s and think how wonderful it was. I think if you and I were beamed back to 1975, I think there would be about a 6-month adjustment period where we wouldn't know how to even negotiate it anymore.
The butterfly collars alone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the style alone would be difficult. I don't want to dress like Starsky and Hutch,
Oh, no, I want to rock a leisure suit again. I had a plaid leisure suit in 1975. I slayed it. You would have loved it.
Even the golf course. I mean, watching guys like Nicholas walk around on the course in those pleated, those like checkered double knits and those.
You could have killed those
tight-fitting shirts with the big collars and with the roly-poly bodies on tour. I mean, that would be no.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go back.
Awesome is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I don't. I hear you. I don't want to go back. All right, let me ask you another question. So just sort of like bringing us out of the ethereal and back to terra firma here, short term. Financial Times reporting the gap between U.S. companies' borrowing costs and Treasury yields has shrunk to its smallest since '98, after a rally in global credit markets. The cost of borrowing for investment-grade companies in the U.S. and Eurozone credit markets is 0.75 and 0.76 percentage points above benchmark government bond yields, respectively, according to Bank of America data. So does that mean that the volatility that we've heard so much about is a bit overstated? Volatility in credit markets?
No, it actually, in my opinion, it's actually when I see that start to happen, when credit spreads start to narrow, and for those people who are listening who aren't that into it every day, what it means is that people aren't respecting the risk difference of lending to company A versus lending to the U.S. government. And when that spread gets narrow, and I know you know that, Dan, but I think to me that's when I see volatility, options volatility in the markets really low, when I see credit spreads really tight, to me it seems like it is an indication that we are not respecting risk. We are getting lulled into a belief that nothing bad can happen. You and I are old enough to know something bad can't happen. Right, can happen. And I think that. But wait. You have to say, so we're being lulled into it. You say, but wait a second. The market is always right, and they're saying that there is no risk. That's what the market is saying. All right. No, the market is not always right. The market is forward-looking. The market is often right, but it is certainly not often right. And every time we've seen big, deep corrections or even bear markets, it's usually not every time. It's usually I sound like Yogi Berra there. Every time it's been born of incredible complacency going into it. So that complacency always works, and it goes back to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger saying, when everybody else is panicked, we get greedy. When everyone else is greedy, we get panicked. So right now we're seeing nobody panicked. Right now, everybody is greedy. They're looking for that little bit extra that corporate lending can get them over U.S. Treasuries. So. Are they dropping the bone for the reflection? That was like some sort of parable or something?
Dropping the bone for the reflection. Wow, that's a deep pull.
Is that a real one, or did I just make that up? Is there some sort of parable about a dog who sees a reflection of a bigger bone and goes for that, or something like that?
If there's not, there should be. Yeah.
There should be.
So is this a time to be a contrarian then? Everybody else is talking about piling up in equities, and things are going to, be pretty good for at least the rest of this calendar year. And so should people become more bearish? Is that what you're saying? Be contrarian?
People should become more conservative and more. And anytime people are talking about a stock market that goes only in one direction, it's time to be a little more worried. Now, I don't. Of the people who come to me and ask, I don't know that it necessarily is time to short anything, but I'm putting on extra put protection. Most of the people who are listening to this show that's not available to them. They don't know how to do that. Although the amount of people who do that has been exploding. So if they're selling you, and again, you can buy cheap portfolio protection like insurance. When we talk about volatility being low and complacency, they sell it to you for even cheaper. And these months, August, September, and October, can present hurdles for the stock market. We've seen some bad things happen these months. So whether or not why the seasonals happens is unimportant, because it sometimes does happen. So I am a little bit worried about the stock market, but not over the top worried.
All right, Jim Urio. Oh wait, one thing quick, because we're short on time. But what does the Fed do in the next few quarters? Are we going to see rate cuts?
Yeah, I do think we'll see rate cuts. I think he's pressured so much into it that he basically has to. But here's what we look for. When he cuts rates in September, look at what 10-year yields do. If 10-year yields shoot higher, that'll mean the market thinks it's inflationary and the wrong time for him to cut, just like what happened back in September. But if he cuts 25 basis points to the short end rate and 10-year yields go lower or stay the same, that'll be the market, which is the smart money, which isn't always right. We've already established that. It's usually right. We'll be telling them that it is the right time to cut. I personally think it is the right time to cut, and he should go 25 in September.
All right. We'll be looking for that. Thank you for those leading indicators. Jim Urio, host of the Futures Edge podcast, special contributor to wirepoints.com, and the owner of Branson Palatine. Jim, thanks as always.
See you, Dan. Have a good day.
You too. He joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line. And coming up at 7:07, Stephen Bucci will join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line to talk Putin-Trump summit. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
President Zelensky can end the war with Russia almost immediately. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump posted that on Truth Social before today's meeting with Ukraine's leader at the White House, where Fox's Jackie Heinrich reports.
There are some indications that one challenge today could be getting Ukraine to talk peace terms without a ceasefire in place. You had Russia shelling Ukrainian cities overnight leading into this meeting, and Zelensky's chief of staff writing on X that a ceasefire is essential.
Something Russian leader Vladimir Putin did not agree to in his meeting Friday in Alaska with President Trump.
Zelensky today will first meet with President Trump and Vice President Vance one-on-one before a group meeting with the NATO Secretary General, the EU Commission President, and the leaders of Germany, the UK, France, Italy, and Finland, who will together discuss Russia's territorial demands.
Also being discussed, a possible U.S. and European security agreement for Ukraine, but the Trump Truth Social post added no NATO membership for Ukraine. Now, as far as the war in Gaza is concerned, as Israel continues to escalate, there was a massive protest today across the country demanding a ceasefire deal to free the remaining hostages, and there are also talks on a different conflict.
U.S. Special Envoy Tom Barrack wants Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah to agree to a long-term end to decades of hostility. The Lebanon-based group was battered by Israel during a months-long war last year. Lebanon's government has endorsed a U.S.-backed plan for Hezbollah to disarm. It involves economic help to reconstruct the country.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A frantic call for help late last night in Tremont, Utah, when police responded to a disturbance.
2 officers down in the intersection, not moving. I'm hit. I don't know. It's in the head or my shoulder.
That's from Broadcastify. We don't know how badly wounded that officer or the other two were after a lockdown in that area. Police did track down and arrest the suspected gunman. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning, I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago Public Schools just started today, and there's still strong debate on whether the Chicago Public Schools or the city is responsible for paying a $175 million pension payment. Here's Perry Williams with more.
The result of the standoff can determine if the CPS proposed budget is passed by the school board, which consists of mostly Mayor Brandon Johnson appointees. Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates says CPS must make the payment.
The pension payment that's being passed around are for the lowest wage earners in the Chicago Public Schools. I think it's offensive and it's insulting. It has to be paid.
The school board is scheduled to vote on the budget on August 28th.
CPS included the payment in its spending plan only if it got more money from the city and state. If not, CPS could face cuts to the classroom. John Deere is laying off workers at 3 factories in Illinois and Iowa in the coming weeks. Deere and Company announced it will lay off nearly 240 employees. The company cited decreased demand and lower order volume as the reason for the cuts. The family of a Chicago man who was gunned down while streaming on Facebook Live on the west side is seeking answers. Kevin Watson was killed Wednesday night in the 5000 block of West Madison Street. The footage was viewed close to 2 million times on Facebook, which showed the victim leaving a car. Seconds later, gunfire can be heard. His sister says that she's heard and believes detectives have all the resources to find her brother's killer. So far, no one's in custody. News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Goldberg's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by myvirago.com.
You think your 401k is safe, growing, reliable. But here's the truth. The 401k was never designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift risk onto you, leaving your retirement exposed to Wall Street crashes, inflation, and chaos. Noble Gold helps Americans roll over part of their 401k into real physical gold. Tax advantage, penalty-free, and shockproof. Get your free wealth protection kit now at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
We ran the numbers. Overseas furniture makers charge an extra 38% to package and ship iffy furniture to the Midwest.
So out of $1,000, you're paying $380 for nothing. That makes the product better.
But 82% of Penny Mustard's furniture is made within 300 miles of us.
So we're able to invest that extra $380 into higher quality materials and craftsmanship.
American-made furniture that lasts for generations.
When you shop at Penny Mustard, it adds up.
PennyMustard.com.
Everybody is keeping an eye on the Fed and how an interest rate cut might affect gold prices. Gold has been hovering at around $3,400 an ounce for the last 2 months and is poised for dramatic growth with the next interest rate cut. When rates go down, returns on bonds follow, and that's why gold continues to be the safe haven asset of choice for smart investors. Are you protected? Don't wait until it's too late to profit from the back and forth from the Fed on interest rates. Right now, if you have a qualified IRA or 401k, you could receive up to $10,000 in free gold and silver when you open your retirement account with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now or visit AdvantageGold.com and get your free gold IRA guide and find out how much bonus gold you qualify for. Call 800-900-8000 to qualify for your free $10,000 precious metals bonus when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 23 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 23 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. Outbound is about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save, on average, 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid. The high will reach 87. Tonight, anticipate mostly cloudy skies, staying warm and very humid. Showers and thunderstorms are likely with the heaviest rain early on. Some storms may bring strong winds, flash floods, and hail. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so, returning our attention to the Trump and Putin summit, both the pre and post. The pre and post. I think there's like 3 categories of content to pour over when it comes to this weekend: the optics, the topics, and the results. But before we even get to that, the pre-summit expectations. Brett Baer was on Air Force One with President Trump prior to his greeting and sitting down with Putin. And he was in the room, apparently, so he said, with when Trump had a call with Belarus President Lukashenko, who is a Putin stooge. So got to factor that in. But this is what Putin stooge Lukashenko had to say to Trump about Putin in advance of their sit-down.
Essentially said that Lukashenko, told him that he believes that Putin is ready to deal and that this is going to be a positive thing. Now, remember, the leader of Belarus is a close ally of the Russian president, and so it was informative. You also got some hostages released who were jailed inside Belarus, the president did. So he came off that call optimistic about where things stood.
Although, I mean, again, Lukashenko is probably, he's running interference for Putin. So you're trying to get in the mind that I want a deal and here's the deal, and maybe not. Maybe Putin is just buying time as he continues the war. No ceasefire was agreed to. No severe consequences have followed to date. Rubio explained why. But here was Trump at the post sit-down press conference talking about the prospect of a deal.
So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. And when he sat down with Hannity, he added a little bit more texture to the sit down. I'm talking about Trump sitting down with Hannity.
I mean, we were together almost 3 hours, and it was very extensive, and we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points we're agreed on. But there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit. But it's up to President Zelensky. I think we are, and if they'd like, I'll be at that next meeting. They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess, I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done. And we have a pretty good chance of getting it done.
And, of course, the D.C. press corps immediately jumped on the summit as a failure. The optics were bad. He was too friendly with Putin. He smiled when he shook his hand. I mean, there are pictures circulating online of Obama and Hillary Clinton doing the same thing. That's what you do when you greet a head of state, even if it's a dictator. You're not dealing with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir the world over. Again, the reality of the situation. If you're trying to achieve something important that is difficult, like the killing being stopped in Eastern Europe, when somebody is not averse to killing his way into his territorial desires. I'm talking about Putin, of course. But the D.C. press corps, like the people that rely on them, just want to traffic in beautiful lies. They don't want to deal with difficult realities and very tough binary choices that have to be made if you want to try to advance the flag for peace. That's just the reality of it. And this is what Marco Rubio tried to explain to Martha Raddatz when the criticism came fast and furious. He said he wanted a ceasefire. He said there would be severe consequences if there wasn't a ceasefire. No ceasefire, no severe consequences. That combined with the optics make this an embarrassing failure for the president.
Critics of President Trump will say the pomp and circumstance, the red carpet, the warm handshake, that President Trump simply lost that Putin gained there just by being on the world stage and walking down a red carpet with the president. Your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, critics of President Trump are always going to find something to criticize. You don't even pay attention to it anymore. But I will tell you this. Putin is already on the world stage. He's already on the world stage. The guy's conducting a full-scale war in Ukraine. He's already on the world stage. He has the world's largest tactical nuclear arsenal in the world and the second largest strategic nuclear arsenal in the world. He's already on the world stage. When I hear people say that, it elevates him. Well, all we do is talk about Putin all the time. All the media's done is talk about Putin all the time for the last 4 or 5 years. That doesn't mean he's right about the war. That doesn't mean he's justified about the war. Put all that aside. It means you're not going to have a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. You're not going to end a war between Russia and Ukraine without dealing with Putin. That's not That's just common sense. I shouldn't even have to say it. So people can say whatever they want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to get the Russian side to agree to things that they don't want to agree to if we're going to have peace. If not, there'll just be a war. They'll keep killing each other, and life will go on in America and in the rest of the world, but not for Ukraine. So the president has invested a lot of time in trying to bring an end to this war. He deserves credit for doing that. He gets criticism for doing that. He could have just let this war go on. The president could have just said, this is Biden's war. It started under him. We'll do what we can for Ukraine, but we're going to focus on other things. He could have easily said that. But he's the only leader in the world that can get Putin to a meeting to talk about serious things.
But I don't want to deal with Putin, and I'm going to hold my breath until Putin retreats. For more on this, Stephen Bucci joins us, Weekly Conversation. Stephen served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
Your takeaways from this weekend's sit-down between Trump and Putin.
Well, I'll start with a comment on Martha Raditz's comments. Last time I checked, Martha has never negotiated an international deal with anyone. And gee, President Trump's had quite a few successful ones that he's done. He kind of knows how to negotiate. You may not like him, but that doesn't change that he can do what he's trying to do. Now, okay, he didn't have instantaneous success over the weekend. It's a process. So I think Rubio was exceedingly polite to her, not to tell her, use the old Saturday Night Live and say, Martha, you ignorant slut.
Yeah, wow. That would have been something.
It's a completely vacuous questioning that she was trying to do. So with that, I wish they had gotten to an agreement and Putin had agreed to withdraw completely and all the killing stopped. I don't think anybody with any brains thought that was going to happen this weekend. But now we're going to have a bilateral negotiation between the Russians and the Ukrainians with some of the other European folks there. There'll definitely be Americans there, at least as observers, if not participants. We're making progress. I'm not saying that's going to be a guarantee that we're going to get what all of us want, which is peace in Ukraine, restoration of some degree of Ukrainian sovereignty over its territory. But it's better than, Putin walking away, shooting President Trump the bird and heading back to Moscow. That didn't happen. The door's open. Let's see where we can get.
Yeah, and the understanding of what the conversations were, and this, I guess, is sort of reporting, bank shot reporting on Trump's briefing of European leaders that then back channel to members of the D.C. press corps. So, the 5 regions in dispute, these are in eastern Ukraine. None of this is a surprise, where Putin controls some or most of the territory. And the deal was basically, as reported, let's just say for the sake of argument, this is a potential deal. He gets Donbass, the administrative lines, not just the lines where he has current control, because he wants these regions to be completely within the purview of Russian control. And he'll concede on not NATO membership, of course, for Ukraine, but he'll concede on sort of quasi de facto Article 5 guarantees language from the United States that the United States will consider an attack on Ukraine an attack on America and America's allies, and so there'll be a military response. So he wants Donbass. He'll stop there. Administrative lines. He's okay with the security guarantee from the United States, language like that, so long as there's not formal NATO membership, and he won't go further than Donbass into Ukraine or other countries. If those broad outlines, as sort of telegraphed by Steve Witkoff and others, are in fact accurate, is that a deal that America should live with?
I personally, I don't like him getting more of the Donbass, because the areas that he doesn't control right now, he has not been able to get control over really since 2020 or 2012 2012, let alone the 2022 invasion, that he has failed and his military has failed to be able to gain control of it. There are reports about, quick Russian advances is a bunch of nonsense. There's lots of independent sources out there that are saying, Ukraine doesn't have the ability to push the Russians back, but the Russians have shown an inability to push the Ukrainians out of the rest of the Donbass area. And Putin's trying to make up for his military failures by getting that kind of deal. I think that he can be pushed a little more than that. He's at least shown his kimono a little bit open, that he recognizes he's not going to get more and more of Ukraine. He wants this little extra bit, but I think the Ukrainians can get in there in this negotiation with the Europeans supporting them, and maybe put the palm up to Putin and see him back off, because I think he's starting to admit his military cannot do what he is trying to do. So now he's trying to get it through negotiations.
But is there any scenario? One of the other things that's going on is that all of these Joe Obama administration intel officials and diplomats are moving the goalposts on Trump. Victory to Hillary Clinton. I'll nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize myself if he gets full Russian withdrawal. If Ukraine retains all their territory and then he gets gradual full Russian withdrawal from Ukraine, then I'll nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize. Well, as you said, that is completely unrealistic. It would seem. Even I think Zelensky in a private moment would probably say that's unrealistic, but this is part of what they're doing.
Yeah, the press corps, the Obama-Biden holdover, hangers-on comments, they failed completely in this. And now they have the chutzpah to carp at Trump because he hasn't fixed it in the first couple of months of his administration. And when they screwed it up for years, we see this kind of stuff all the time. Trump is making progress. I think anybody expects, the Ukraine to get back, the Crimea and all of the Donbass, all that. I mean, if anybody believes that, that's la la land. I don't think that's happening. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Did he steal that land? Yes. But unless somebody's willing to roll a whole bunch of good guy tanks in that direction, that's not going to change. And I don't see that happening with our cooperation or anybody else's. So there's going to have to be some settling for less than 100% of desires on both sides. It's just, where do you draw that line? How hard can you negotiate to get what you want? And we're in that process now. And this next meeting will be an important one, because now you'll finally have all of the participants there making the arguments and see where it goes.
Comments on the optics well, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Of course, here's a dizzying intellect, former NSA Susan Rice, calling this a big win for Putin. What happened this weekend?
It was, in short, Jen, a big victory for Vladimir Putin. He walked off his plane onto a red carpet to a clapping Donald Trump and a flyover of American military aircraft, an extremely warm reception, and then they get into the President of the United States limousine, one-on-one with no staff and no interpreters. And Putin apparently speaks good enough English to carry on a conversation. I hope, Jen, that he did not drop a bug in the backseat of the president's limousine as a former KGB chief, because having Putin in that limousine is really quite an extraordinary gesture. And then he lets Putin speak first at the press conference. But the big picture is that this is the end, from Putin's perspective, of his international isolation. He's welcome onto American soil for the first time in almost 2 decades outside of the UN. and he gets a warm welcome from Trump and gave nothing in return. Stuck to his hardline positions about Ukraine, and he walks away with no sanctions against him, evading sanctions for the fourth time. He walks away with no ceasefire, vague discussion about an agreement that nobody understands. And he's in a stronger position than when he arrived. And Trump, frankly, it's not clear what he got, except some, backhanded BS about how a war wouldn't have happened if Trump had been president, which is something Trump loves to say. And that literally might be the only thing Trump got out of this whole charade.
Better sweep the beast to make sure that Putin didn't wire it up there, Steve.
I mean, come on. This woman, supposedly a professional, State Department, Foreign Service officer, and she talks nonsense that's barely a tick above, Kamala Harris kind of talk. Look, thank you for the reminder, Ambassador Rice, but yes, the Secret Service knows they have the beast every time anybody not on the president's immediate circle goes in there. Gee, what a wonderful idea. Nobody else would have thought of that.
And not to mention, why does he need to bug it? I thought Trump was Putin's guy in D.C., so he's not?
Exactly. And then the other stuff, come on. What is he supposed to do when Putin arrives? Sit there, in a kung fu ready stance, ready to whack him when he comes off the plane? This was normal diplomatic protocol for a head of state, even a head of state you don't like. You go into a negotiation by, standing there with your back to the guy and your arms folded like, well, I know you're here to talk to me, but I'm not going to look you in the eye because you're a bad guy. I mean, what are we on the ground? What is wrong with the people that worked for Obama and Biden? This, just because they don't know how to do negotiations and diplomacy, but then they think they should criticize everybody else. All of that is complete hogwash, or BS, as she put it. She should. Why do people keep talking to her?
This is for obvious reasons. MSNBC, consider the source. But I mean, and by the way, I also thought the B-2 bomber flyover, I didn't take that as honoring Putin. I took that as sort of a show of force.
I agree with you 100%. I thought the same thing. Gee, the B-2's going over. Didn't we just send a big message with B-2s, both to Iran directly and by sending the B-2s to Okinawa to China indirectly? Well, now Putin just got his personal warning as well.
Yeah.
So
Trump might as well have said in the beast, like, hey, that's the one that I used to knock out the Iranian nuclear facilities. Yeah. Your buddies in Tehran.
Knowing Trump, I have a feeling he probably said something like that to him.
So if this thing doesn't move forward, if Putin is not, sort of open-minded and oriented towards a deal as suggested, if it turns out not to be the case in the short term, then does Trump necessarily need to move with secondary sanctions, the much ballyhooed secondary sanctions?
If there is no movement, if Putin really acts like, I don't have to do anything, I rolled you guys, I'm going to stay exactly where I am, which Putin, he could do that. If it happens, then the sanctions should be put on immediately, both on Russia and anybody who's been doing business, including the Chinese, by the way. If there's some movement, but not enough to satisfy us, you could say, you know what, we're going to delay the sanctions one more time. We need something at this table that's reasonable and proper, and then we'll go forward. But if there's no movement, I think they should go on immediately.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show. Take care.
Take care. And Stephen joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You probably know I help business owners fight back against the IRS, but did you know I can help with state taxes too? Right now, Illinois is about to open a rare tax amnesty program. For a short window of time, you can pay certain back taxes and have the state wipe out the penalties and interest, no strings attached. But here's the thing, once that window closes, the chance to save is gone. The Illinois Department of Revenue will announce the exact start date and requirements any day now. When they do, the clock will start ticking. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll give you clear updates the moment news breaks, walk you through exactly what you need to do, and help you avoid mistakes that can cost you thousands. Don't get caught off guard. When the state offers a deal like this, you have to move quickly. Go now to fightbacknow.com and get on the list, because when the clock runs out, so does your opportunity to wipe out those extra charges and save big. That's fightbacknow.com.
It's more than a backyard. It's a place where lazy afternoons turn into lively evenings, and simple moments become lifelong memories. Right at the center of it all, your deck, the stage for your best moments and everyday magic. But the outdoors can be tough on wood. Fading colors, weathered boards, and hidden damage creeping in. That's why homeowners across Chicagoland trust Deck Tech. For over 35 years, they've specialized in cleaning, restoring, and protecting decks, keeping them strong, stunning, and ready for every season. Deck Tech now offers 0% financing options for 21 months. Give that special someone the break they deserve with a Deck Tech gift card. Call 800-956-DECK today or visit restoreyourdeck.com. Deck Tech, helping Chicagoland homeowners enjoy the great outdoors for over 35 years. Enjoy your deck all season long with Deck Tech, the clean and seal professionals.
1-800-956-DECK. Call Deck Tech.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, one community in New Jersey is dealing with juvenile crime by passing an ordinance to hold parents responsible for the crimes of their minor children. Here we go again. Get your reactions, take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. We'll do that at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says while a ceasefire is still an option for Russia and Ukraine, the focus remains on coming to a peace deal that will permanently end the war.
Rubio outlined the priority during an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press.
I mean, who would be against the fact if tomorrow we came to you and said we have a full peace deal and it's done? I think that's the best way to end the war. Now, whether there needs to be a ceasefire on the way there, well, we've advocated for that. Unfortunately, the Russians, as of now, have not agreed to that.
His comments come just days after President Trump's historic summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Trump called that meeting productive, but said that no deal was made. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Former Vice President Mike Pence is defending President Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard troops to Washington, D.C.
While appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Pence said he welcomes the president's decision to ensure the streets of D.C. are safe. Troops reported for duty last Tuesday to carry out President Trump's directive to address crime in the nation's capital. The Trump administration says homeless people in D.C. could face jail time amid his federal crackdown. I'm Mark Mayfield.
News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FVP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Goldberg's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Seanfest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Fox Valley Coins and by myvirago.com.
Time now for the Chicagoland Retirement Report. Danielle Martin here with financial advisor Scott Tucker, president of Scott Tucker Solutions. When we go through days or weeks of volatility in the markets, it's hard to know what to do. So, Scott, what can you tell us?
Danielle, I think when there's market volatility, it can freak some folks out. You can be fearful. You might make sudden decisions that may not be in your long-term benefit. A lot of folks race to look at what their 401k or their IRA balance is. And we want to caution folks to kind of slow down a little bit. A lot of folks want to sell at the bottom and buy at the top. If you've already experienced some losses, let's just talk about it.
That's right. A lot of people still have major concerns about their retirement plan. But the good news is you and your team have created an offer for our listeners, Scott. So tell us more about this.
Right, Danielle. The offer today is a Retirement Decoded Toolkit. My staff at Scott Tucker Solutions put this together. And you can claim your Retirement Decoded Toolkit by texting the keyword book. You can call or text the keyword book to 224-496-3999 or go to retirementdecoded.com. So you can text the keyword book, B-O-O-K, to 224-496-3999 or call that number, 224-496-3999. Might be easier to remember. You can just go to retirementdecoded.com. At retirementdecoded.com, you just enter in some information and we'll get your copy of Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go, as well as the Retirement Decoded Toolkit. I think it could really help you with these times of market volatility.
That's right. If you have questions about your retirement, take advantage of this offer today. It's very simple. Call or text the word book to 224-496-3999. Again, that's the word book to 224-496-3999 or head to retirementdecoded.com to get your toolkit today.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Firm does not provide tax services.
This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's something about the feel of a gold coin in your hand and the way the light reflects off its intricate details that has always captivated me. Nick Grovich, AmFed's owner, turned that same passion into his livelihood. Nick began collecting coins as a teen, and that interest grew into a nationally respected business offering only the finest quality coins at the most competitive prices. But the truth is that although Nick is a rare coin dealer, he doesn't believe in rare coins. Rare coins do not make sound investments, but they do make dealers a lot of money. See, that's part of what I respect about him. AmFed specializes in buying non-performing numismatic coins and turning them into gold or silver investments that provide liquidity and perform competitively against the market. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 23 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 23 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. Outbound is about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid with a high of 87. Tonight, expect considerable cloudiness, warmth, and high humidity. There will be a few showers and thunderstorms with the heaviest rain early. Some thunderstorms could bring strong winds, flash flooding, and hail with a low of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
It's time for Dan Proft's parenting tips. Whoa, Dan Proft's parenting tips. Whoa, tell your kids to shut up and listen to him.
You're a child. Yeah, long overdue for a parenting tip. Those who can't teach, that's me. The sins of the sons and daughters visited upon the moms and dads. Sort of a reversal. You know, we have these ordinances or these efforts advanced every so often when there is a particularly disturbing event or a rash of juvenile-related crime and truancy and general lawlessness. You know, when a community or a neighborhood goes full Clockwork Orange, you have politicians say, well, it's time to hold the parents responsible. And actually, we've seen this a couple of times in cases where a minor child has become a school shooter and the mom and or dad held accountable because of negligence in providing access to a weapon, that sort of thing. Some of those cases a little dubious too. But the New Jersey community of Gloucester Township has passed an ordinance that does just that, holds parents responsible for the crime and mayhem that their minor children commit. Parents can be held criminally liable if their children commit certain offenses, including up to 90 days in prison. Now, it's not prison immediately. But this crackdown in Gloucester Township, New Jersey, follows a brawl that involved about 500 teenagers that left 2 police officers injured, caused significant property damage. And the mayor of Gloucester Township, in the township, they've got a mayor. You know, it's Jersey. It's different than here. Anyway, the mayor's name is David Mayer. And, oh, by the way, he is a Democrat. Here's his announcement of the new ordinance and the explanation for it, the basis upon which it is being instituted. Somewhat controversial.
We saw just this past weekend in West Hampton unruly juveniles walking through the streets and standing on cars with no respect for authority or others. There are towns throughout New Jersey that are also postponing their events because of experiencing the same things that I had just spoke about. This is not unique to Gloucester Township, but rather is symptomatic of a larger societal juvenile crisis. Now, I'll tell you, I don't have all the answers. But one possible answer is to hold parents accountable for their children. I saw firsthand the actions last year of these unparented juveniles. Now, I'll tell you this. When my children were growing up, I didn't have a cell phone to keep track of them. But I knew where they were, I knew who they were hanging out with, and I knew what they were up to. In Gloucester Township, we have amended our ordinance to increase the financial penalties on juveniles that violate terms of curfew and added financial penalties for their parents. In addition, we increased the number of hours of community service for both the juvenile and now the parents.
Making mom and dad responsible for the bad acts of son and or daughter. What say you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Talk about parents being responsible, knowing where your kids are at, who they're hanging out with, as the mayor just said. You have legal authority over your kids. Should you not have potential legal culpability? I mean, you do, but this is sort of one step removed. I mean, this is essentially accusing the parent of being criminally negligent, willful blindness is not a defense to criminal exposure necessarily. Obviously, as I mentioned in the school shooter cases, parents can be held accountable if they have recklessly facilitated access to weapons or had knowledge of a child's violent tendencies or intentions and did not take steps to address that, did not notify the school, take positive steps, responsible steps to try to prevent a crime. There's potential exposure. What about general exposure, though? A kid, parent doesn't know anything about it. I'm going out to whatever. I'll pretend I'm living in the 1950s. We're going to the soda fountain to have a malt with my friend, and we end up graffitiing a building. Mom and dad, I guess there's escalating discipline here for the parents, is what I understand from reading about this. Warning, fine, community service, then potentially up to 90 days in jail. You talk about these wildings, mob actions, and we're always talking about the family. We're always talking about where are the parents, where's mom and dad, knowing what their kids are up to. As I said, we're talking about minor children, so you have legal authority that comes with legal responsibility to some extent. This is a questionable area, but it's not completely out of bounds. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hi, Dan. How you doing? I don't think so. I don't think parents should be held responsible for their children's actions, especially people who have big families, kids running around, especially the teenage years, when you think about I was talking to you the other day about the kids out on their e-bikes, wrecking havoc all over town here. You can't control these kids, and I think the parents should be maybe just hit them in the pocketbook, fine them for their kids.
Well, but then you are saying hold them responsible. That fines are part of it. You're saying hold them responsible.
Yeah, but maybe not. I am, but I'm not talking like jail time.
No, I understand, but I mean that's still a criminal penalty. I mean, I guess you could say it's a civil penalty, but there are criminal penalties that include fines and community service. You heard the mayor mention that don't include imprisonment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know much about what happened in New Jersey with those 500 teenagers. You said 2 cops were injured. Nobody was killed.
Well, you heard the description. Kids are jumping on cars and engaged in mob action. I mean, nothing that we haven't seen in Chicago and elsewhere before. How about Willowbrook? A couple years ago.
I remember Willowbrook. Yeah, I remember
the shooting.
Willowbrook. My mom lived there. Yeah. That was horrible. Yeah. I think parents need to be. Yeah, I agree. All right, parents need to be held responsible, but I don't think they should go to prison. Financial, civil, like you just said, I agree with.
Thanks.
But.
Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. Well, I mean, and maybe some community service. Maybe if Pop and Son spend a couple Saturday afternoons washing graffiti off a building or picking up trash on the side of the road, they'll have some time to communicate about how life at home is going to be on a go-forward basis. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, I hate the situation, but I really question the constitutionality of this. I mean, it's pretty much enshrined in the Constitution. You can't be held responsible for others' crimes. And also, doesn't this teach the kid a bad thing? Oh, if you do something bad, your parents.
Well, thanks for the call. You cut out, Joe, but it's. Oh wait, hold on, Joe. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, it teaches them a bad example. If you do something, your parents are held accountable. Well, they're not being held accountable exclusively. You're being held accountable together. That's what the ordinance suggests. Together. It takes a village to discipline these droogs out there causing problems in the neighborhoods, right? You know, it's interesting. The head of a parents group in and around Gloucester Township, New Jersey, made this point too. She said, "Well, you know, maybe if police were allowed to do their jobs, we wouldn't have such a problem. We would need to sort of enlist parents in terms of their accountability. Part of the problem, we know this very well, is that juvenile crime is not prosecuted, and it's, you know, a combination of police and prosecutors. But maybe if you allowed police to do their job and prosecutors did their jobs to impose the sort of penalties that provide disincentives to engage with the mob in terms of creating havoc or committing acts of violence, then we wouldn't need to be talking about criminalizing the inattentiveness of parents." Renee Barrington.
Yeah, I agree with the fines, the civil, having some type of penalty, paying money. But how about also requiring the parents to attend a 1-year course in tough love and parenting skills and test them at the end?
Okay. All right, Renee. I mean, then the question becomes, what kind of parenting class is a local unit of government going to provide? Is it going to be tough love, or is it going to be, something less rigorous? Frank, Board of Trade.
I don't believe it's necessary to have a male in the household. I think this is a bunch of malarkey. The kid has to understand that there's going to be consequences. It doesn't matter whether you have 2 women or whatever in the house.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. Let me fold something else in. In Florida, this is not the only state, but it's the most recent one. In Florida, parents can now permit schools to use corporal punishment on their children. A state law allows families to opt into the practice if their school district permits it. Florida is one of 14 states that still allow for corporal punishment in schools. So if they want to allow for corporal punishment, the school board adopts a policy that allows for it, and then parents can choose to sign a consent form authorizing staff to, give my kid a spanking if he gets out of line, or escalate the level of discipline to corporal punishment if he consistently gets out of line. What do you think about that? Just going too much down to too much down the road if it takes a village, which I was sort of saying sarcastically before. If I can't handle them at home, maybe the schools, the cops, somebody else will handle them. I mean, and then it gets into the whole idea of corporal punishment in and of itself, which is somewhat a questionable practice. I mean, it doesn't offend my sensibilities, particularly as a recipient. Not recently, I'm glad to say. I'm glad I'm still here. The research on this is not great in the direction of corporal punishment as effective punishment. There's some downsides to it if you look at the scholarship on it. But, a lot of us were subjected to corporal punishment growing up and lived to tell about it, and perhaps did straighten us out a bit. The proverbial dad and the belt. Oh. Well, let's fold this in, because it gets into there's certain behavioral problems at home, and they're manifesting themselves out in the community. What should the community's response be, both to the kid and to the parent? That's really what we're talking about. Sasha on the South Side.
Yes, hi. I'm a CPS
teacher, and I've seen this where the parents definitely need to be held accountable because it happens in the lower grades. I've seen it happen in preschool where the kids are out of control.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Sasha. Maybe the parents should get corporal punishment. Although some of the parents would probably like it, so there's that. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. You know, parents aren't allowed to know about kids' transition, their preferred pronouns. And the teacher union leadership has said the kids are theirs. I don't know what the big question is. Let's just have the teachers fix it like they've fixed everything else.
Yeah, okay. I get the facetiousness. All right, Joe, thanks. Lee in Hammond.
Yeah, hi, Dan. I wonder if this proposal goes forward, I wonder what the over and under is on how many hours it's going to take for somebody to file a lawsuit because this is racist.
Okay, thanks for the call, Lee. Man, there's always that. Spectre is always out there. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. So corporal punishment when I was a kid, getting a spanking in the rear end, was meant to push your brain from your butt up to your head. So.
Did it work?
It worked.
All right.
It worked.
Is that? I never knew that was the purpose. I guess it worked on me too. Thanks, Glenn.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in the New Markets Tax Credit Program, and we're fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Hey, let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear, reliable, local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP, phones, a dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, serving thousands of companies, Access One has you covered. It's Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups, to manufacturers. If you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today. Call Access One at 1-800-804-833. Well, 1-800-804-8333. That's always easier to remember. 800-804-8333. Or visit accessoneinc.com, that website, accessoneinc.com, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
I believe in aliens, ghosts, and UFOs, but I don't believe you.
Huh?
I'm convinced the Earth is flat and the moon landing was faked.
Okay.
But when you say Hassleus Mattress don't have no employees, well, that's just crazy talk.
It's true. Hassleus Mattress showrooms are employee-free. Give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Oh, Okay, sure. You probably think birds are real, too.
All I know is that our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Free next day delivery, too.
Do these mattresses come from Area 51?
We're talking big names like Sealy Posturepedic and Beautyrest.
And who's supporting your operation? The Illuminati?
If you need support, through Monday, get a free adjustable base with any new mattress.
That's what the lizard people told you to say.
Save on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and more. And get a free adjustable base through Monday at Hasselus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at hasselus.com.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, David Harsanyi from the Washington Examiner on the left's search for authenticity. If you're searching for it, you're probably never going to find it. Anyway, that's David Harsanyi at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
Russia should not be rewarded. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky posted that on X, adding the war must be ended and reliable security guarantees are required for Ukraine, after new Russian attacks left at least 7 people dead ahead of his White House meeting today with President Trump.
Alongside images of a burning apartment complex with massive holes in its roof, President Volodymyr Zelensky condemns what he calls a demonstrative and cynical strike. Posting on X, the Ukrainian leader accusing Russia of timing the attacks to coincide with today's big meetings in Washington. Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Sumy and Odessa all targeted this morning.
So Jonathan Savage. As for the Trump-Zelensky talks today, 6 months after their contentious meeting, leaders from NATO and Europe will join them right after for more discussions following Friday's Alaska summit between the president and Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio denied a claim from a European official that President Trump supports Putin's proposal to freeze the front line if Ukraine hands over control of the Donbas region, which Russia has not been able to conquer fully militarily.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. And now an update to this from Utah.
I got them officers down. Still shooting.
Copy, still shooting.
That's from Broadcastify's. Officers in Tremonton were responding to a disturbance. Now, John Franke with Fox 13 reports.
We did learn that 2 officers involved in this incident were shot and killed. The 3rd was injured. That person in fair condition. A police canine was also shot in this incident and taken to a veterinary hospital in the Salt Lake Valley. We're told the canine also in fair condition.
Now, the suspected gunman was tracked down and arrested and is now charged with aggravated murder. Police in New York City keep searching for multiple gunmen in a shooting early yesterday morning at a Brooklyn lounge. 3 people were killed, 9 wounded. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Family members are saying goodbye to a woman who was severely wounded in a 2022 deadly shooting at a Chicago nightclub. Mariah Vera's aunt says her life is nearing an end as they prepare to move her to hospice care.
We lost my brother-in-law, a niece, a friend that day, and Mariah fought through. As strong as she is, her time has come for us to slowly say goodbye.
3 other people were killed after gunfire erupted outside the Vieira Lounge in December of 2022. Samuel Parsons Salas faces charges of murder and attempted murder in the incident. Hundreds of thousands of students at Chicago public schools are back in the classroom today to start the 2025-2026 school year. Multiple CPS schools will be visited by Mayor Johnson. Classes begin as district officials are dealing with a massive budget deficit for this school year. The school board is set to vote later this month on a budget proposal revealed by CPS last week. A judge is denying pretrial release for an Addison ice cream owner accused of secretly video recording multiple females at the business, including 2 minors. Stephen Weisberg faces child porn charges. Prosecutors say Weisberg installed a camera inside an outlet in the bathroom of Flavor Frenzy ice cream shop on West Lake Street. He was able to save footage from the camera on his laptop and cell phone. Multiple victims were female employees of the shop. Weisberg was arrested on Friday. This news update is delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery. Local delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The highest tariffs in almost a century apparently aren't totally being reflected in what you pay for things. Barclays economists did a study of how tariffs impacted prices in May. The tariff rate was 12% for the studied items, but the tariff impact was actually around 9%. Reuters says shoppers looking for fake Christmas trees and holiday decorations will have fewer choices this year. Tariffs on Chinese imports are forcing retailers to scale back orders, though the 90-day extension to the tariff reprieve will allow retailers to bring in some last-minute shipments. Most holiday purchases are already done. Air Canada is not offering a forecast for this year as the strike by flight attendants drags on. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, there's an old joke about Uncle Sam's tax short form. The first line says, "How much did you make?" The next line says, "Send it in." Sadly, that's not funny at all for honest people who pay taxes. But that's exactly what a lot of people do in their retirement. They take money out of their 401k and their IRA, and they send it into the IRS. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group believes there's a better plan for your retirement than Uncle Sam's plan of send it in. What if your current plan includes thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes and fees? What if you're headed for higher Medicare payments, lower Social Security checks? What if the savings you may realize allows you to retire even earlier? Wouldn't you want to know all of that right now? Call Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group and find out today. Call 630-864-6711. The number again, 630-864-6711. You can also visit alphawealthgroup.com to schedule your no-obligation consultation.
Life can change so abruptly. Just ask Paul. He's a hardworking entrepreneur. He's young. He's got a young family. Suddenly, though, he develops a rare medical condition where he lost the use of both of his arms.
I could no longer drive a car, couldn't use a computer, couldn't type, couldn't use a mouse. I could not hold my son, who was about a month old.
Paul and his family were facing a mountain of medical bills, but they're so thankful that they're members of MediShare.
I think if someone asked me, like, hey, does MediShare really work? I'm living proof that it works. My 4 children are living proof that it works. My arms, which have been healed, are living proof that MediShare works. Just knowing the emotional peace of mind, knowing that our needs are going to be taken care of when we have some type of medical problem, that is such a huge blessing to us.
It could be a huge blessing to you, too. People save so much and love being part of MediShare. Call now, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. Traffic is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid. The high will reach 87. Tonight, anticipate mostly cloudy skies, staying warm and very humid. Showers and thunderstorms are likely, with the heaviest rain early on. Some storms may bring strong winds, flash floods, and hail. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Joy Reid may be gone from the desk at MSNBC, but she is not forgotten. Nor have her histrionics changed very much. And she's still got a whole cast of characters to join her on her podcast, like Wajahat Ali, who is a columnist for CNN, New York Times, on and off. You know, part of the punditocracy of the left. Full-on identitarian. They had a rousing discussion about mediocre, honky men on the podcast the other day. It went a little something like this.
They can't fix the history they did. Their ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU. They can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king. Because they couldn't make rock and roll. So they have to stamp the king on a man whose main song was stolen from an overweight black woman.
Well, actually, the song Hound Dog, that's what she's referring to, I guess, because it was originally written for Big Mama Thornton. But it wasn't written by Big Mama Thornton. It was written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, a couple of honkies, by the way. And then, you know, popularized by Elvis. Yeah. Hound Dog, not his only song. Just saying. This continued.
The question is, we're going to talk about how this is happening in real time and how this has always happened, how the fragility of a mediocre, terrified white men is destroying America, and how they have to make a level playing field for themselves. And it's all projection all the time. Like I just said right now, safe spaces for them, none for us.
Projecting about projection. That's fun. David Harsanyi joins us now. He's senior writer for the Washington Examiner, author of The Rise of Blue Anon, How the Democrats Became a Party of Conspiracy Theorists, and I would add race hustlers. But that's my friendly amendment. David Harsanyi, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, I mean, you know, not that Joy Reid and Wajahat Ali are particularly relevant, except to the extent that what they have to say is like 10 degrees different than what somebody who is popular these days in their ranks, Jasmine Crockett and others like her, say on the trail, at town halls, on cable news shows all the time.
Yeah, I mean, she's a racist. And the thing is, what's interesting about this kind of identitarian thinking is not only that it, you know, she gets to call all white men you know, mediocre or whatever. It's that she's essentially taking credit for things like jazz, which she has nothing to do with. These are individual people with talent, right? She is no Ornette Coleman. She has done nothing that's impressive as far as I know.
Yeah, it was, Miles Davis and Joy Reid. That's what I understand, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I mean, some white men are mediocre, some aren't, some are great, and it's because it's not how we judge people simply because there was slavery, 100 years ago. I mean, everyone had slavery, and all races were enslaved. I mean, but they won't accept the history. So.
No, right, and then and then the crowd that was tearing down statues and rewriting history books and prohibiting contrary viewpoints from pre-K through post-secondary, all of a sudden is aghast that the Trump administration would like to review some of the Smithsonian exhibits to make sure there's an accurate depiction of American history, warts and all, that is presented.
I mean, does Joy Reid and her guests know that the Islamic world was the leading enslaver of people and did it the latest in history? I think slavery was outlawed in Saudi Arabia in like the early 80s or something. I mean, they just simply won't accept the history because to them this is all just a pleasant political position to take right now.
Well, I mean, watchdogs who follow this sort of thing, including left-wing watchdogs like Amnesty International, will report on the existence of slavery in countries in Africa like Eritrea today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, does anybody want to address that? I'm opposed to slavery back then and now. If we want to join hands on that issue.
We're strongly opposed to slavery. Yes.
Yeah. Right. I know. Courageous position. Right. Well. Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry. I don't think they believe that we are. I think that the way that she was talking about Prager and stuff makes it sound
Prager.
People. Yeah. It's a fine organization, but I mean, to talk about that and not talk about the massive institutions of legacy media that they control, I mean, it's kind of funny. But they make it sound like we're yearning for those days. We're pining for slavery again. I mean, it's just so preposterous. I don't think any normal person believes it.
Yeah, but this is the thing. In lieu of something that is particularly attractive on its own merits, they have to, create these boogeymen. So they need to implant these straw men in the minds of people so that they have something to rail against. Because, Trump, number one, and then Trump as a proxy for the white supremacists and all of these other things that go bump in the night. That's what they have.
And the Smithsonian, I'm sure that they're not going to take out references to slavery, but didn't the African American Museum not have Clarence Thomas mentioned in the museum? I forget it.
Yes, that's right.
Holding, but
yeah, that's right.
So who's erasing history here?
In the Wall Street Journal, the weekend interview with Barton Swaim, we hear from our very own tiny dancer, Rahm Emanuel. He wants to run for president. And he is positioning himself as a centrist because he's also staked out a courageous position that men and women are different. This is groundbreaking stuff in the modern day new Marxist Party, and his theme is, and this is a little bit below the fold, but I know you'll know about it, and so I want to get your reaction. His theme is basically sort of a modification of this abundance agenda that the alleged deep thinkers on the left, like Ezra Klein, have been promoting. And he says, build, baby, build. Some of what he says about, and this is Swaim's comments, some of what Rahm says about deregulation sounds more like a more common sense version of the abundance agenda popular among progressives. The trouble is they want to expand America's building capacity without doubting the fundamentals of the climate apocalypticism that afflicts their side. So Rahm just sort of steps around the climate issue and just talks about this. You've had like Rui Tuchero over at the Liberal Patriot talking about this too. We need to be aligned with people's material interests, and the abundance agenda is a way to do it while just sort of massaging away from some of our otherwise core constituent groups like those who are promoting, eco-supremacism. What's your take on that as sort of a pivot that could be attractive for them?
Well, I think he is full of it, but I also think that that's a lot more attractive to an independent living in a purple or even a red state or even a blue state than Mamdani in his socialist agenda in New York. I mean, if that's the choice, I guess it will be to some extent. I mean, you saw Mamdani was on the cover of Time magazine. There's an obsession with him. He gets the kind of, the teen idol.
Yes.
Cover.
Yeah.
When there are people in Virginia and elsewhere who are running as moderates, even though I think they're pretty far left from my view, who have different ideas, who are actually winning places that, Republicans live in. New York is a socialist city at this point, and it's unimpressive to be two corrupt candidates there. So I don't know if Rahm Emanuel is the guy to do it, but I think he's got. I hate to say it. I think he's got the right idea about how to win back. Some of the people lost to Trump, who, despite what people think on the left, is actually quite a moderate president as far as policy goes. His personality isn't moderate, but the issues he takes on are very normie issues. They're not very ideological. At least I don't think they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I like from a policy perspective, it's actually Trump, and we say this in his first term too, he's actually quite conventional.
Yeah. He's not a Reaganite by any stretch or anything like that. I'm not saying he doesn't embrace some of those ideals, but I mean, he's not a culture warrior, really. I mean, he is in the sense of taking on the most obvious things like girls are girls and boys are boys. But he's not talking about abortion all the time. He's not talking about gay marriage all the time. I'm not casting judgment on those issues. I'm just saying that he is not that type of candidate. And I think that's why over the years people have realized he's actually not Hitler, and he's pretty moderate on issues that people care about. And, maybe unions are still slush funds for Democrats, but a lot of union workers probably like Trump a lot better than they like any Democrat. So I don't know. I feel like Democrats should be going down a Fetterman route more than a Mamdani route. But
right, but I mean, but the problem is all the energy and the general popularity is with those who are wittingly or unwittingly the sort of neo-Marxist revolutionaries, the identitarian revolutionaries, right? And then you have some intellectual heft behind them. I just watched this podcast that Russ Douthat over at New York Times did of this University of Chicago educated gentleman named Asita Wanavu, who's got a new book out called The Right of the People, Democracy and the Case for a New American Founding. And he's a very sharp guy. He's completely wrong, but he's a very sharp, well-spoken guy. And he essentially argues for some of the things that we saw and heard about during the Biden administration, but it was never strung together in a coherent way as sort of we need to completely rethink and re-engineer the institutions of our society in order to achieve, and this was the part that was missing, in order to achieve the material benefits, sort of folding in the abundance here, the material benefits to you who are being treated unfairly by these institutions because they're controlled by, the plutocrats and so forth. The drill. But I mean, he's talking about abolishing the Senate, ending the Electoral College, packing the court, completely rethinking and in refounding, as is the book title, refounding America, reimagining, if you will, our democracy, and representative republic, but more direct democracy is what he's talking about. Certainly with abolishing the Senate, and that's really where sort of the made for the View comments of a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC. This is what they're saying too. They just can't articulate it. They don't have the chops, intellectual chops of this guy. But I mean, there's a real movement within that party to do those things, and you see it bubble up here and there when something goes the other way on the Supreme Court, or something goes the other way in an election, and the Electoral College should be abolished. But there are intellectuals on that side that are providing a unified vision of doing just that if they got political power.
Yeah, I mean, their viewpoint, I guess, I know, is that, these white slaveholders came up with these ideas, so why should we have to follow them today? They're antiquated. It's funny that, like, Ezra Klein, for instance, who is behind the abundance agenda, it's kind of just a watered down, like Obama era kind of policy, but he's always talked about killing the filibuster, the Senate, packing the court, things like that. So you incrementally corrupt or corrode belief in those things. You don't teach kids about them. They think they're antiquated as well. And sooner or later, you get to a point where there's going to be people who want to just destroy it. It's like year zero stuff, and it's nothing new, really. So I don't know where that goes. I don't think it goes anywhere good. You can't have one party following the rules of the Republic and the other saying we have to tear them down. At some point, that's not sustainable. So they're headed in a bad direction for sure, and they are Marxist. I mean, it's not always class. Sometimes it's sort of race-based Marxism, but it's founded in those ideas, and they're nothing new. We keep going through the same fights, except now it's been mainstreamed in a way, and that's a little bit scary.
You had a piece for the Daily Signal. I'm glad you brought them back into focus here, because this counter-revolution, I would describe it, that is occurring under Trump to some extent, is very much an open question. It's like, we've won the battle of boys and not playing girls sports. We've won this battle and that battle. Well, we made some progress. It's I don't think it's a done deal in any of these areas. And one of them is, for example, the things that we on the right have conceded. Like it seems, generally speaking, we've conceded Obamacare. And you remind us about the religious infringements that contained in Obamacare and with the left more generally. The part of the revolution versus counter-revolution has to do with religious freedom, and that's an important piece of the discussion.
For sure. And, just quickly to say, when Obamacare is passed or whatever legislation the left passes that intrudes on our freedoms, they're very hard to roll back. So Donald Trump's doing a lot through executive order and executive actions, and that's great. I agree with most of the stuff he's doing. But that is very, very easily overturned in the future. It's much harder to get rid of legislation, as we see with Obamacare. And I don't know if people know, but Little Sisters of the Poor, who were one of the kind of mainstays of the, I guess, counter-revolution, initially fighting back against the contraception mandate, basically, in Obamacare, are still in court because though they've won twice at the Supreme Court on the federal level, now they have to deal with states with unlimited taxpayer funds to keep going after nuns, to bakers, whoever they want, for thought crimes, essentially. And it is enraging because it's 12 years now this has been going on. And so I think the thing I've learned being a bit older now is that sometimes I sit down, I'm like, I'm writing about this again. I've been writing about this for 20 years. That battles are never won. They're just continually fought. And sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And even though Trump has done a lot of good, I still feel like because they run the institutions, the left, that we are ceding ground in many of these common sense issues, the Constitution itself.
100%. I totally agree with you. David Harsanyi, senior writer for the Washington Examiner, author of The Rise of Blue Anon, How the Democrats Became a Party of Conspiracy Theorists. David, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
And David joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Your manufacturing production is only as good as your manufacturing team.
Monarch makes you better, plain and simple. They do an excellent job at recruiting the right people, qualified, experienced top talent that improve productivity.
Monarch Technical Services has been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987.
Their vetting process is bang on, and their payment terms show just how dedicated to helping they are. You have 6 months to pay the finder's fee, and if for any reason the candidate leaves, the fee ends. Simple.
Monarch's payment terms allow you to make sure employees fit in before fees are paid in full. It's a working partnership that works.
If you're growing your manufacturing team, trust me, call Monarch Technical Services.
Monarch meets every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills and assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Call 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221. Or visit monarchtechnical.com.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin.
From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. Crosscom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, Crosscom can start doing your repairs. Crosscom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, Crosscom does it all.
Call Crosscom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Leitz with Crosscom. We share your conservative and Christian values. Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Zeke, self-employed, called to refinance his $1 million home after being rejected by 3 lenders. Zeke contacted me after hearing me explain how I helped another self-employed listener who was also rejected due to lack of income. I helped Zeke secure an $800,000 cash-out refinance using the 12-month average of Zeke's business bank statements. Let's review. Zeke called to refinance his home after being rejected by 3 lenders, and we helped Zeke refinance using the deposits into his business bank statements. If you're self-employed and want to work with mortgage professionals who understand self-employed borrowers, call Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 56steven.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of self-employed listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 and that website you love, 56steven.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
AM 560, The Answer.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance. Arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
All right, it's a quick one. If you saw somebody wearing a Detroit Lions jersey, the number 20, who would you say that was? How about if you saw somebody wearing a Detroit Lions jersey with the number 20 and the name Sanders on it? Is that enough of a clue? How about if you saw someone wearing a Detroit Lions jersey, the number 20, and the name Sanders on it, and you hosted a show on ESPN? Do you think you should know who that is? Mana McNutt doesn't.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing, man? Feeling good, man. Excited, still here for this. I'm up. I know I'm doing this early. I'm up.
talk, though. Jeez.
Well, it's a blast for us to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so the jersey. Let's get into it, because obviously this ties to one Shedeur Sanders, who balled out in his first preseason game. I'm sorry, I apologize. Barry Sanders.
A little hard to hear, but yeah, you heard. She thought it was Shedeur Sanders because, he's in the news, except he plays for the Browns, not the Lions. Sanders, Lions, one of the great football players in the history of the game. You'd think an ESPN host would know that, but Monica McNutt doesn't. Also, just in terms of her DEI status there, you may remember she drew headlines about her with her comments about Caitlin Clark, saying little girls like Clark because she is white. And then she also would try to make the case for Angel Reese to be Rookie of the Year, not Caitlin Clark. So anyway, just a reminder that ESPN sucks and no one should watch it. Okay, that was it. Coming up at 8:38, we're going to talk crime and punishment with Rafael Mangual from the Manhattan Institute. That's 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to robust security guarantees for Ukraine.
Witkoff talked about the agreement in an interview with CNN's State of the Union.
We got to an agreement that the United States and other European nations could effectively offer Article 5-like language to cover a security guarantee.
Witkoff, who sat in on Trump's meeting with Putin on Friday, said it was the first time we'd ever heard the Russians agree to such a provision. He said other agreements also included a legislative enshrinement by Russia to not go into any other territory when the peace deal is codified. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The House probe in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case will hear from its first witness today. Former Attorney General William Barr is scheduled to appear at a closed-door House committee chaired by Republican James Comer. Comer also subpoenaed former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with other top officials. Republicans on the committee say that they're also seeking information from these officials regarding the Epstein files. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by myvirago.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98 and the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Need new blinds? At Blindster.com, they offer guaranteed low prices, guaranteed satisfaction, free samples, and free shipping. At Blindster, they take the fear out of ordering custom blinds, shades, and shutters so you can do it yourself and save big. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm, making it humid with a high of 87. Tonight, expect considerable cloudiness, warmth, and high humidity. There will be a few showers and thunderstorms with the heaviest rain early. Some thunderstorms could bring strong winds, flash flooding, and hail with a low of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Maureen Dowd, writing in the New York Times. Maureen Dowd, loathes Trump. Dutifully repeats all of the DNC-approved monikers for Trump. But she writes about D.C. My sister is having a bad summer. In fact, even as I'm typing this, Peggy is at D.C. police headquarters. We had dinner in Georgetown recently. When we came back to my house where her car was parked, she was short a Buick. Two polite police officers who responded to our call said they could do little amid a rash of brazen car thefts by teenagers. One officer said that even if they saw the perp driving in her car, they could not chase him because of the laws passed by the D.C. Council. Yeah, there you go. She ultimately got her car back. It was found. Officer from Prince George's County in Maryland banged on her door. Car was found at a park running nearly out of gas. When she collected it after paying a $215 towing charge, she found an odoriferous collection: half-eaten pizza, grape soda cans, fast food wrappers, used condom, and a couple of debit cards. Just another Saturday night. Dowd goes on to talk about D.C. Oh, well, actually, one more point here. The icing on the cake, she got more than $1,800 worth of speed camera tickets the car thieves had racked up doing 70 and 25-mile-an-hour zones, and some for running red lights. One ticket revealed that the car was stolen just after she got out of it at 7 p.m., so she, she'll get those, I assume she'll get those tickets suspended, but that's not the point, is it? This is sort of the quality of life stuff that we've been talking about for a long time, actually, with Chicago. It's not just all about murders and shootings. This sort of experience make you want to live in the big city? Dowd goes on to say, how ridiculous it is to pull FBI agents from their desk and National Guards troops raise the specter of martial law. But she writes, quote, "It is also true that many D.C. residents are secretly glad to see more uniforms, No matter what statistics say, they don't feel safe. She herself writes, I find myself packing pepper spray again. I feel more wary walking around the city. It's disturbing to ask someone to lock the Claritin at CVS because the police don't lock up the smash and grabbers. She quotes Eli Honig, who we quoted last week, CNN's legal analyst, also a general detractor of Trump, who said, yes, Trump is hypocritical and scattershot on public safety, but he happens to be within the law here, and he happens to be right when it comes to mobilizing the National Guard to aid the effort in D.C. And we've seen so far some 75 homeless camps in Washington, D.C. have been cleared since his executive order mobilizing federal resources. And yet we still have people like Peter Baker at the New York Times saying, the non-existent crime crisis, 30-year low homicide rate. Okay. Tell that to the D.C. residents, including many on the left, like Maureen Dowd, who is packing pepper spray more than she used to. Rafael Manguel, senior fellow and head of research for the Manhattan Institute's Policing and Public Safety Initiative. He's also the author of Criminal Injustice, What the Push for Mass Decarceration and Depolicing Gets Wrong and Who It Hurts Most. Rafael, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me back. Always glad to be on with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I mean, one of the things that we've seen, which is a positive byproduct of Trump's executive order, is, when the president puts his focus on a city and it becomes a proxy for a larger discussion about public safety in big city America, then a lot of people come out of the woodwork to tell their stories, even people that may be reluctant to tell their stories to sort of put Trump in a good light, but nonetheless have enough quality of life annoyances, if not real public safety fears, that they feel compelled to say, well, I kind of like a little bit more police presence here right now because things are kind of, a little bit out of control.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I also think the other thing going on here is that politically astute people like, veterans and like Maureen Dowd, they understand exactly what's going on here. I mean, she warns in her piece, right, that the Democrats really are risking falling into the trap of winding up on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. And she's exactly right. I mean, what we've seen over the weekend and over the last, several days really as Trump has activated, troops in various federal police agencies, to patrol the streets of D.C., is that Democrats are lining up to chastise the officers, to scream at them, to denounce the effort as fascism incarnate. This is the sort of thing that they've been doing, and I think part of what we're seeing here on the part of people like Maureen Dowd is that they are trying to sort of get back some aspect of a decent reputation, because once again, Democrats are sort of finding themselves in the trap of, Donald Trump cures cancer, and they move to ban the cancer cure because it came from Donald Trump.
Well, the other thing is the Peter Baker argument that, is ubiquitous. 30-year low, there's no crime problem. The mayors out there, Bowser and D.C., our own Brandon Johnson here and everywhere in between. We know what to do when it's working. Look at these statistics. Well, guess what? People in Chicago today aren't necessarily thinking about what life in Chicago was like in 2014 or even, pre-pandemic. But what they're seeing and they're experiencing is too many of them either have or know someone who's had an experience like Maureen Dowd or so many other people that have shared their stories. And so for all of your improvement talk, it sounds similar. The analogy I've used, a sports one, is like, the White Sox were 80 games under 500 last year. They were the worst baseball team in baseball history, MLB history. This year, they're only 36 games under 500 at this point. Right. They're still a terrible baseball team. And exactly right. So that's the way people look at it. They don't look at, well, I've seen you go down 7% in shootings this month, and so I feel a lot better about the city.
That's exactly the right point to make. I mean, first off, one of the questions I always love to ask these people who compare the crime levels now to the 1990s in order to make that very point, right? Like things are nowhere near as bad as they were back then. It's like, well, why is that our standard of comparison?
Yeah.
Why is that the measure? Why are we measuring ourselves now against the worst that things have ever been, right? Why is that the standard? So throw that out, right off the bat. But the other thing that these people just simply refuse to recognize, and it's the part of this debate that infuriates me the most, is that as good as things are in the aggregate, there are still in every major city in America pockets of those cities with crime levels that these people could never imagine, that they would never tolerate for their own communities, right? There are neighborhoods on the south and west sides of Chicago, places like Austin and Woodlawn, and Garfield Park, that these people would never, they would only drive through at 55 miles an hour or more, right? And yet we're supposed to just accept the aggregate crime level as a success despite what's going on in those areas. And this is the thing that they just really, really don't get, that, in my opinion, drastically undercuts their ability to sort of play the woke card and claim, that they are speaking for the less fortunate, because it really is, always has been, the less fortunate that are bearing the brunt of this problem. And in those communities, crime is still way far and above what any of these upper middle class, writers would ever tolerate for themselves or their families.
Well, right. And the other thing is, you obsess about the statistics that are going in your direction. So you want to make it about murders and shootings at present. By the way, they're going down everywhere, including in the suburbs. That's the reason that, nationally, the numbers are low. So it's happening everywhere. There's nothing special that's being done in Chicago. It's happening in spite of what's being done in Chicago, actually. But the other piece of it is, I'm sorry, my quality of life expectation, if I live in the city of Chicago, is not that I didn't get murdered or shot today.
Exactly.
It's that, my car didn't get stolen today. My business didn't get broken in today. I didn't get accosted on the street by a deranged homeless person. I mean, and those things we don't want to talk about.
That's exactly right. I mean, they don't want to talk about them because those things have not gotten much better. Right. And that's obvious to everyone who walks the streets of these major cities, whether it's New York or Chicago or LA or Washington, D.C. And these are the things that really drive public sentiment and fear of crime. And it always has been that way. This was the brilliance of the broken windows theory. The broken windows theory recognized that Americans will process visible disorder as a signal that the rule of law has broken down in the public spaces in which disorder flourishes. And that signal, when it's processed, creates fear. And it's not irrational fear, right? I mean, if you walk into, a subway station and you're hit with the smell of urine, right, that tells you something. It tells you somebody urinated there recently, which also means that somebody felt comfortable pulling their pants down and using the bathroom in a public place, which means that in their minds, no one was going to do anything about it. And if they're right, then no one's going to do anything about anything else, including if someone decides to snatch your purse or assault you or grope you or do any of these other things, right? So this is what really drives the sense of safety on a day-to-day basis. Even in the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, you're not going to get, robbed, shot, or raped or stabbed on a daily basis, right? But you will see graffiti and littering and public intoxication and public drug dealing and use. Right, that's the sort of thing that you're going to see on a daily basis. And those signals are important, not just because those things are bad for the community, but they also tell us how much control is being exerted in a given space. And if those places are definitionally out of control, which means that the rules are being broken on an hourly basis, then no, you're not safe no matter what the data say. And the public does have an interest in having those things addressed, irrespective of what the broader murder and shooting trends look like. The public does have an interest in going into CVS and being able to buy toothpaste without having, somebody come in with a key to open up the fortress that they put the toothpaste behind.
Yeah, and since you mentioned broken windows, that necessarily implicates New York. And of course, what New York City and New York State did was go the opposite direction from broken windows in the recent past, including under a guy who's trying to sideline Mamdani named Andy Cuomo. We've seen the no cash bail reform, or quote unquote reform, in New York, just like in Illinois. And then also you point to the raise the age law in New York that tried to essentially water down punishment for juveniles who commit crimes.
Yeah, not just tried, but successfully did it. I mean, so 16 and 17-year-olds who used to be chargeable as adults more easily than they are now are almost all going into family court, irrespective of the severity of the charges that they're facing. What that means is that they're way less likely to end up in pretrial detention. And even if they're convicted of a felony, they're way less likely to be put away for any significant period of time. And what that's done is it's emboldened the people who fall into those age categories to misbehave in ways that I think they wouldn't otherwise misbehave if the consequences they face were more pronounced. But it also creates this incentive for the older gang members to start passing more and more serious criminal conduct responsibilities onto their younger members. Why? Because those younger members do not face the same consequences that the older members face. And, you know, there's a story out of Chicago that always brings this dynamic to mind, and that was the shooting of Adam Toledo. Right? When Adam Toledo, the 13-year-old who was shot by a Chicago cop once in the chest after turning around with a gun in his hand, he was in that alley with another person. It was a 20-something-year-old Latin King member. I have no doubt that it was that Latin King member that put the 13-year-old boy up to the shooting that had occurred that the police were responding to. I have no doubt that it was a Latin King member that put the gun in his hand that got him killed, right? But why does that happen? It happens because that 25-year-old gang member knows if I give the gun to the 13-year-old, he'll get a slap on the wrist, whereas I might actually go to jail and prison.
Raphael, well, you know, just quickly, you know, what is your take, since you study this with, you know, more intensity than most, and have offered so much scholarship on it, the decline in violent crime nationally, is this just regression to the mean pre-COVID, or what forces do you attribute the decline to?
I think it's a combination. I think some of it is regression to the mean. I think a lot of it is a reassertion of policing. If you look at, you know, pick your city, you're going to see arrests are going up. You're going to see convictions are going up. You're going to see jail populations rising, prison populations rising, right? The national prison population increased in 2022 and 3. And I suspect that when the Bureau of Justice Statistics puts out the 2024 statistics, we'll see another increase. Jail populations across the country are up significantly. In cities like New York and LA, traffic stops are up, pedestrian stops are up. But what this means is that we're seeing more enforcement. More enforcement does have the effect of reducing crime. So none of that should really come as a massive surprise. I mean, one of the things that really characterized the sort of pandemic crime rise was a significant pullback on enforcement. We saw fewer arrests being made, fewer stops being made, fewer convictions, fewer people going to jail, more people being released than were going in, whether it was jail or prison, right? Those trends have reversed, and I suspect that has a lot to do with why crime has gone down. And even the New York Times, in an editorial last week, seemed to recognize that possibility.
Raphael Mangual, Senior Fellow, Head of Research for the Manhattan Institute's Policing and Public Safety Initiative, and author of the book Criminal Injustice, What the Push for Mass Decarceration and Depolicing Gets Wrong and Who It Hurts Most. Raphael, thanks as always. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Be well.
And he joined us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We ran the numbers and determined the overseas furniture makers are paying an extra 38% to package and ship their iffy furniture to the Midwest.
They're not paying it. The customer is.
That means of the $1,000 spent on a piece of iffy imported furniture, $380 of those dollars are paying for nothing that makes the product better.
But 82% of the furniture sold at Penny Mustard is made within 300 miles of us.
Swaddled in a comfy blankie and hand-delivered right here in the Midwest.
So we're able to invest that extra $380 into higher quality materials and craftsmanship.
The result is solid, sturdy, American-made furniture that lasts for generations.
Try doing that with the IFE-made furniture they make overseas.
So when you're buying new furniture, would you rather pay for low quality, global shipping, and dumpsters full of packaging?
Or would you rather spend that money on long-lasting, locally crafted furnishings?
When you shop at Penny Mustard, it adds up.
PennyMustard.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Text from 708. Again, such a good show. The best pairing with my morning coffee for an excellent start to the day. Absolutely elevates the morning. Thank you, Dan. Oh, thank you very much for those kind words and for tuning in, and to everybody else who didn't offer kind words but tuned in anyway. Appreciate it as well. We'll have detailed coverage on all that transpires in the direction of a deal between Russia and Ukraine, with the meeting in the White House between the principals today. It is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.